Jeffrey wouldn't let Winnie go and kept staring at her. Winnie finally admitted defeat and offered weakly, "How about I buy you dinner?" "I thought you said you had something going on tonight," Jeffrey grunted. "I'm picking someone up, and then we can have dinner together," Winnie said. "Male or female?" Jeffrey looked displeased. He didn't like the idea of someone else intruding on them. "Neither," Winnie hesitated before explaining further. "It's my brother." "You have a brother?" Jeffrey was surprised. "Yeah." "All right, I won't refuse since you've extended the invitation yourself. I'll make a compromise." He put his hands in his pockets and walked away. Winnie watched him from the back, and she was amused. He just had to have the last word. She shouldn't have invited him, after all. When they were in the parking lot, Jeffrey said, "Wait here for me. We can take my car." Winnie was shocked. "You have a car here too?" "I borrowed it from a friend." After Jeffrey left to get his car, Winnie called Bob to tell him to return to the hotel first. 5 minutes later, a silver BMW pulled up in front of her. When Winnie looked at the car, it wasn't a flashy sports car, but it looked elegant. At least the windows were heavily tinted. She sat in the passenger seat and said to Jeffrey, "Drive to the Capitol Museum." Jeffrey started the car without saying anything. On their way there, Jeffrey asked, "Have you made any reservations?" "Nope, we'll see where my brother wants to go." Jeffrey was a little upset. She was supposed to treat him to dinner. Why didn't she ask for his opinion? Winnie hesitated for a moment. "Oh, right. If my dad comes, can you tell him you're my chauffeur?" Jeffrey glared at her in disbelief. "You didn't tell me your father would be coming along too." "My dad won't be joining us. He'll be having dinner with his old classmates, but he might be walking my brother out later," Winnie said innocently. "My dad is very wary and hostile toward the men around me." Jeffrey pouted. "That's true. If I were your father, I would have felt the same way." Sighing, Winnie asked, "Will you be joining us for dinner or not?" Jeffrey grunted, his mood suddenly turning foul. 5 minutes later, Joshua came toddling out with his Peppa Pig backpack. Winnie opened the car door and waved at him excitedly. Joshua's eyes lit up, and he flashed them a brilliant smile, toddling along even faster now. When he got to the car, he hopped onto the leather seats. Before he could shout, "Sister," he noticed a stranger sitting next to Winnie. He was examining Jeffrey, a guy who was dressed just like the models in the magazines. Joshua was wary all of a sudden and jumped into Winnie's arms.
"Ma, I miss you so much."
Winnie was startled. Jeffrey's eyes nearly popped out of their sockets. "Ma?" His face was filled with questions. He felt anger bubbling in his chest and his head was dizzy. "Winnie, what do you mean by this? You didn't tell me your son was around too." Jeffrey was glaring. His anger felt like an eruption he couldn't contain. He had tried his best not to think about what happened in the past, but here she was with her son. What did she mean by this? Was she suggesting that he would need to accept the son she had with another man if they were to reconcile? Winnie made a face and looked him in the eye. "Silly! Can you please use your brain? Do you think I could have a son this age? She's just a baby. She can't run yet." Jeffrey tried to calm down. "Yeah, well, okay. She was right." Suddenly, he felt even worse than before. "You had a son even before this?" His face was ghastly pale now. This was the maximum he could handle. He would go crazy if she had another son. He wasn't confident to say that he wouldn't strangle her to death there and then. "Jeffrey, what's wrong with you? How could you think that of me?" Winnie felt anger welling up inside her. She grabbed a cushion behind her and threw it at his face. "This is my brother, dumbbell, all right?" "But he's calling you Ma," Jeffrey shouted.
"Ma, he's mean."
Jeffrey was snuggling deeper into her arms. Winnie didn't know whether to be angry or amused. She felt as if she were dealing with two children at the moment. "Joshy, I'm going to be angry if you keep this up." Winnie cupped his tiny face in her hands. "I'm going to call Ma and tell her that you don't want her anymore."
"No, no."
Joshua shook his head quickly.
"There's a saying that an older sister is like a mother. I'm not wrong in that sense."
Winnie sighed. She hadn't seen her little brother in a while, and he had grown so much since then. He could say all these sophisticated things now, showing off his knowledge and everything. I believe you now. Jeffrey nodded his head suddenly. Your son wouldn't be as intelligent as he is. What a nerve! She wished she could just get out of the car. They hadn't even arrived at the restaurant and they were already bickering. Oh, really? Don't regret what you said today, Winnie smirked. Sensing the coolness in her voice, Jeffrey quickly added, But your brother's adorable. I'm sure he'll grow up to be a good-looking guy. He reached out and pinched Joshua's cheeks. Joshua dodged his hands and said, Don't touch me with your dirty pig feet. Jeffrey was astonished. What did he just say? Winnie was holding back a giggle now. Joshy, where did you learn that? Joshua cocked his head and said,
Ma watches television about the emperor and his concubines. She's always in a bad mood afterward. She calls Pa a big fat pig.
Winnie was speechless. She knew which show he was referring to, but was still awed by her little brother's linguistic abilities. Jeffrey was grinning too. Of course he knew that show. After all, he was a director in the entertainment industry, and his professor often talked about the show in class and case studies. Even a young child could understand. Jeffrey looked at Winnie and asked, How old's your brother?
I'm turning 4 according to the calendar,
Joshua answered quickly. Jeffrey raised his eyebrows. Winnie was amused. 3. Jeffrey sputtered. Your parents are amazing. How did they manage to have a son at this age? Were they disappointed when you left home? They must have wanted another kid. Winnie rolled her eyes at him. She was still feeling very guilty about leaving home. She cleared her throat and looked at Joshua's head. Joshua said,
My dad is young and fit.
Jeffrey nearly choked again and said, Little man, tell me, what do you want to eat? Joshua thought about it and said coyly,
Are you trying to get on my good side? That's how it goes on television. You have to please the little brother if you wish to win over my sister's heart.
You little kid know nothing. Jeffrey felt as if he had just been outed and quickly denied Joshua's accusations. Winnie was perplexed. It was troubling that her brother was so precocious. It wasn't cute at all. Joshy, don't be ridiculous. This is just a friend who's working with me. After a momentary pause, Joshua shook his head vigorously.
Mia, my friend said that there's no such thing as a platonic friendship between men and women.
Winnie was embarrassed now. Why would Mia say something like that?
She said that to me when I was playing with our neighbor. She called her my girlfriend and said that friendship was just an excuse for romance to bud.
Joshua grunted loudly with his nose held high. The adults in the car were silent now. Winnie was blushing ear to ear, and Jeffrey's expression looked awkward.
Why aren't you guys talking anymore?
Joshua asked curiously. Jeffrey's lip trembled and he turned up the radio. His brain was busy searching for the right thing to say. He was truthfully intimidated by this 3-year-old in front of him. What were Winnie's parents like? How did they manage to give birth to such a mature little tyke? Winnie had to change the subject. So, Joshua, can you tell your sister what you would like to eat tonight? If you're not going to answer me, I'll have to take you to eat some sashimi.
No, I don't like raw meat.
Joshua was shocked. He shook his head to protest and said,
I want to have McDonald's or Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Nope, said Winnie, shaking her head. You can have some wings after dinner, but you can't have KFC as your main meal. Joshua was disappointed and said,
Let's have a steak then. I like that.
Winnie thought about Jeffrey, who said he didn't like steak and felt a little torn. Let's have steak then, at the most authentic place. Jeffrey started the car. Winnie hugged her brother in her lap, and Joshua snuggled into her embrace.
Sister, you've lost weight. I can't bear to see you so skinny.
Jeffrey's mouth was twitching. From the rearview mirror, he could see the little guy sprawled out on Winnie's chest. He wanted to throw him out the window. He finally understood why Aaron wasn't so enthusiastic about his son. Upon reflection, he shouldn't have been so picky when he met Aaron. If he were more compassionate, he would have treated him more compassionately as well. Joshua's getting chubbier, though. You look so cute. I like you even more now. Winnie hugged him tightly and kissed him on the cheeks. Tell me what you want, Joshua. I'll buy you anything you want.
Sister, you're the best.
Joshua climbed onto her shoulder and whispered into her ear.
Sister, are you going to try to find Jenny a father?
Winnie closed her eyes. Joshua appeared worried.
Sister, don't be like this. Good-looking guys aren't trustworthy. Ma always talks about how worried she is that you might be whisked away again by some gorgeous guy.
Winnie's heart throbbed and she said, Joshua, I know you're worried about me, but we're just having dinner tonight. Don't read too much into it. You're too little now. You won't understand. Joshua copied her and sighed as well.
It's troubling to have an older sister as well. I'm always worried you might be fooled.
Sometimes she couldn't believe he was her little brother. Jeffrey turned to her and said, No wonder he's your brother. You both know about romantic relationships and eloping in high school. Winnie regretted asking him out to dinner. Sigh. It was going to be a long night. Soon, Winnie and Jeffrey, along with little Joshua, reached their destination. When they got to the restaurant, Winnie asked worryingly, Do you think Jennifer is eating here too? They probably went to Jude, not here, Jeffrey explained. There are a lot of food shops here now that are comparable to Jude. This place has a good ambiance and is quite private as well. He got out of the car and Winnie carried Joshua out. The restaurant design was a traditional courtyard with several expensive cars parked outside. It wasn't a place the general public would know about. How do you know about this place? My friend recommended it to me. He's a local here. Jeffrey put on his scarf and walked in. It was already snowing and there was a chill in the air. Winnie put on a mask, a scarf, and a beanie for Joshua to make sure he didn't catch a cold. When they walked in, the waitress brought them to a private room. The snow was starting to accumulate outside, and Joshua ran to the engraved window to look out at the scenery.
Sister, this looks like our backyard.
Winnie's family must be well-to-do, Jeffrey thought, raising his brow. Joshy, come over here. What would you like? Winnie waved at him.
Steak. I want to have lots of it. And lamb chops and chicken too. With chili, of course. I love them all.
Joshua chirped happily, clapping his hands. What the carnivore? Jeffrey remarked knowingly. Are you able to eat spicy food at such a young age? Winnie smiled. You might already know this, but the people of my city are good at tolerating spicy foods. Joshua has loved barbecue since he was very young. He loves spicy food with a passion, but he shouldn't have too much of it. She ordered a few specialty dishes and 3 milkshakes too. When the waiter left, Joshua climbed onto the chair and looked at Jeffrey.
Uncle, how old are you this year?
Jeffrey nearly choked on his water. Then he inhaled deeply and said through gritted teeth, I am your sister's friend, so you should call me brother. Joshua shook his head and said thoughtfully,
I'm not convinced by this reason.
Jeffrey looked at this dude's cute little face and couldn't help wondering what Winnie's father looked like. If his son behaved like this, imagine what he was like. Like father, like son. Well, actually, I'm younger than your sister. Jeffrey didn't want to tell the truth either, but Joshua left him with no choice.
Oh my God!
Joshua's round eyes were opened wide.
I couldn't tell,
he said. Yes, because I look older. I'm more mature. Jeffrey was rather pleased with his retort.
No.
Joshua was shaking his head vigorously.
Are you going to date my sister who's older than you? I can straightforwardly tell you that you are too young.
Jeffrey gritted his teeth. He wanted to toss him out on his ear for his impertinence. Winnie swallowed her water quickly and interrupted their conversation. Joshy, stop being silly. Try your shake. It's good.
I need to be your watchman, Joshua said thoughtfully. Ma said I'm a man and have to protect you. You were hurt in the past because I wasn't around yet.
Winnie was touched by his heroic declaration, but didn't feel like talking. Jeffrey stood up and said, I'll be right back. I'm going to the washroom. He needed some time to simmer down. He had a feeling a long, drawn-out battle was ahead of him. When Jeffrey got up, Winnie looked down at Joshua and said seriously, Promise me you'll stay out of these adult matters, okay? You're starting to make us uncomfortable. Besides, you're only 3. You need to take care of yourself. Don't worry about me.
Fine.
Joshua shrugged his shoulders and crossed his arms in frustration. In that case, he would just observe the situation if his sister was too uncomfortable. 10 minutes later, Jeffrey returned from the washroom and sat back down. Joshua was chatting about animation films with him now.
Let's play Guess the Character. Do you know the name of Peppa's brother?
Jeffrey, nope, I don't know. You tell me. Joshua shrugged his shoulders at Winnie.
You guys go ahead. I don't know what else to talk to him about. He has too little knowledge.
A minute later, Winnie received a text message from Jeffrey. Are you sure you're buying me dinner to thank me and not to punish me? Feeling helpless, Winnie shot him a glance and typed, My brother thinks you're courting me. Jeffrey looked at her text and rubbed his hair. It took him a minute before he replied. I understand now. He thinks you're bringing me home to meet the family. Winnie looked at his reply. Phew! The room was starting to get warmer. Even though it was cold outside, it was hot here. Jeffrey grinned when he saw how much she was blushing. He texted her again. Serve some steak to me later. Winnie had a headache. My brother is around, Jeffrey replied. I don't care. He put down his phone and looked at her innocently. When the steak was served, Joshua started swinging his legs excitedly.
Sister, make a wrap for me. I want one.
Winnie looked at Jeffrey and started making Joshua a wrap. Jeffrey began to create one at the same time, and he quickly finished it and handed it over to Joshua.
I don't want yours,
Joshua snarled. I'm sorry, you don't have to make one yourself. The one your sister's making is mine. Jeffrey took the wrap from Winnie and stuffed it into his mouth. Joshua was annoyed.
I can't believe you said you weren't interested in my sister just now.
Did I say that? Jeffrey asked. Winnie's heart was beating very fast now. It was the first time he had shown his intentions since they had reconnected. Was he thinking about the same thing she was? She felt a burning intensity in her chest. She was so pleasantly lost in thought that she didn't hear Jeffrey tapping his fingers on the table to get her attention. I want some more, he said playfully.
Me too,
said Joshua, knocking on the table. Oh, sure thing, she chirped happily. Winnie was making wraps for Jeffrey while Jeffrey was making them for Joshua. When they had gone through nearly an entire stack of crepes, Winnie said, You guys are too much. I haven't had a single wrap yet. Jeffrey and Joshua looked at each other in surprise and started making wraps for her. Jeffrey was naturally faster, but Joshua was no match for him. Joshua grabbed a few pieces of meat and made a sloppy wrap and handed it over to Winnie.
Sis, eat mine,
he said. Overcome with tenderness, Winnie looked at the 2 wraps in front of her. The gesture was so sweet, and she felt loved. She lowered her head and took a bite of Joshua's wrap. So good. When she saw Jeffrey's unhappy expression, she quickly took a bite of his wrap. She ate both wraps even though she wasn't particularly fond of them. Nevertheless, she finished them both. Jeffrey and Joshua finished 2 wraps together. Joshua was a glutton. He was crazy about steak, but Jeffrey? Well, it wasn't his favorite. Winnie crossed her arms and looked at him. I remember someone telling Jennifer that he wasn't a big fan of the food here in the afternoon. That's right, and the reason is, every bite is so delicious. Jeffrey looked satisfied after the meal. Especially the skin. is sweeter than honey.
Agreed.
Joshua nodded his head emphatically.
This is a lot better than the steakhouses my dad has brought me.
You like it too? Jeffrey's eyes lit up. They gave each other an exuberant high five. Finally, they were on the same page. I know a lot of other gimme restaurants. I'm most experienced and well-versed when it comes to food. Yogurt, milk tea, barbecue, ice cream, you name it. I know all the good spots. If you call me brother, I'll take you out for ice cream after this.
Joshua was elated. Okay, brother. Deal.
Winnie frowned. When she brought Joshua to the bathroom, she couldn't help but say, Joshy, he managed to win you over with just a little bit of food? Joshua looked at her and shrugged.
Sister, you're too naive. We're just acquaintances who enjoyed a good time together. Whoever invests more feelings will be the loser.
She suddenly felt awful for Jeffrey, who was trying so hard to win over her little brother. It was a side of him she hadn't seen before. Gosh, what a cynic her brother was at the tender age of 3. When they were leaving, Winnie went to the counter to pay the bill, but the cashier told her it had already been taken care of. She looked at Jeffrey with a confused expression. I thought I said my treat. This one's on me. You can pay next time, Jeffrey said slowly as he played with his car keys. The next meal? Winnie's heart skipped a beat as she was still in a daze. Jeffrey had already walked out of the restaurant with Joshua in his arms. It was so cold outside that their eyes were tearing up. Jeffrey wrapped his coat around Joshua as he carried him to the car. Joshua turned to look at him, his expression a little taken aback. What are you looking at, little man? Is it because of my good looks? Jeffrey asked coolly. Joshua scratched his head.
How come you look like my little niece?
Little niece? You mean Winnie's daughter? Jeffrey's expression was cold now, as if someone had just sprinkled salt on his wound. He didn't want to think about reality yet, but the truth was inescapable. Nothing. Jeffrey started the car and turned his back to her aloofly. Joshua crossed his arms like an adult, too.
Nothing.
Winnie sighed. At 8:30 that night, Jeffrey parked his car in a small shopping mall. There are tons of playgrounds and play areas here. Go ahead and take Joshua. I'll catch up after I get some ice cream.
Can I go too?
Joshua badly wanted to pick his own flavor. Uh-huh. It's a trendy place and your sister is a public figure, Jeffrey reminded him.
Okay, I want the most popular flavor. No vanilla, though.
Joshua stepped out of the car with his tiny legs. The car was so quiet. When he put on her face mask, only her big, bright eyes were visible. I'll get out too, then. Just like that, huh? Jeffrey raised his chin grouchily. Don't you think you put me through enough tonight? I bought you guys dinner and now ice cream and chauffeured you around. What do you want, then? Those words hurt. Winnie felt terrible for imposing on him like this. Gosh, they were all having such a great time together a few minutes ago. What flipped the switch? This guy was such an unpredictable grump. Jeffrey's gaze drifted down and paused for a split second at her chest. Winnie noticed it too and quickly covered up the stain. He was grinning now. Don't worry, I'm not asking for milk. Pervert, Winnie cursed. She got out of the car and slammed the door shut. Wait, give me your phone number. Jeffrey popped his head out of the car and said, I need to know where to find you guys later. OMG. Winnie realized they still hadn't exchanged phone numbers after reuniting. She gave him her number and he drove away. Joshua said boldly,
He's trying to hit on you, but he just managed to get your phone number?
He's not trying to hit on me, Winnie bent down and said gently.
Yes, he is. I can tell, even though I'm only 4.
Joshua was pulling her toward the elevator. Winnie was caught unaware. Was Jeffrey trying to woo her? When they got to the play area, Joshua had become a regular kid. Within seconds, he was running around and screaming with the other children, having a grand old time. Winnie found a spot to sit by herself. After 20 minutes, Jeffrey called and she told him where they were. A short while later, he appeared with 3 paper boxes in his hands. He was wearing a face mask, but Winnie still recognized him right away. Walking over to where she was sitting, Jeffrey opened the 3 boxes, revealing the amazing contents. Whoa! There were 3 scrumptious-looking, eye-catching portions of ice cream. There were nut sprinkles, dried fruit, and chocolate drizzle over them. It was so colorful and mesmerizing. Joshua couldn't wait to dig in. The brownie hazelnuts for your brother. The other 2 are rum and vanilla. Take your pick, Jeffrey said. What do you want? Winnie asked after thinking for a second. Vanilla. Jeffrey thought she was going to leave the flavor he wanted for himself. Winnie nodded after saying, "Oh." Then she took the vanilla one and quickly took a bite of it. Jeffrey squinted his eyes. Winnie giggled mischievously when she saw his flabbergasted expression. She was in a good mood. It was one of the rare occasions when she could bully him instead. Her smile was bright and her eyes were playful and cheeky. Jeffrey hadn't seen her like this in a long time and felt a fire burning in his chest. It was hard to endure the passion building within him. Are you doing that on purpose? He asked, raising a brow. Doing what? Since when did I say anything about leaving your favorite flavor for you? Winnie was grinning deviously, looking like a sly fox. Jeffrey looked at it for a while before he removed his mask. He bent down, leaned in, and took a bite out of the ice cream she had just eaten from. Winnie was stunned. Wasn't this the same as the indirect kiss? Although this teasing was nothing compared to what they had before, she was still flustered and her heart was racing. They were in a gray area now, flirting with each other. It felt like first love, heady and giddy, the whoosh of adrenaline. She worried about losing him. They inwardly pondered each other's intentions, and every bit of affection tasted sweeter than honey. The 2 of them had so much history between them, but alas, so much conflict. But every time they met, there was a fantastic physical pull. Each had the power to affect a response from the other, and sometimes it was irritating in the extreme. What are you thinking about? Jeffrey was displeased when she looked distracted. You're not thinking about Ben, are you? He asked. No, I'm not. I'm thinking of calling Joshy. Winnie changed out of her shoes and went in to get him from the play area. Joshua took a bite of his ice cream happily. His whole face lit up.
This is so delicious. How can ice cream be so good?
Winnie laughed. She was inclined to agree. This ice cream in particular was scrumptious. Smooth and creamy, definitely the best she's ever tasted. Indeed, Jeffrey's a real foodie. Her mind wandered back to when they were together and how he had always managed to get her yogurt, ice cream, milk, tea, and all sorts of goodies to please her. They had tried the best sashimi, crabs, lobsters, beef, and exotica. Everything always tasted much better than anything she had before. And on top of that, he was a good cook too. No wonder she had put on quite a bit of weight when they were together.
Huh.
Joshua nodded his little head.
Brother, I think we can be good friends after all.
Jeffrey grinned. I know a perfect breakfast place. I can deliver breakfast to you tomorrow.
You're willing to do that?
Joshua stopped licking his ice cream and widened his eyes. His mouth was covered with ice cream.
I think delivering breakfast to me is just a cover-up. You just want to deliver breakfast to my sister.
Winnie was embarrassed, but Jeffrey played along without missing a beat. No, I just think you're a connoisseur like me. It's rare to meet a friend with similar interests. Joshua widened his adorable eyes and nodded his head happily.
Remember what you said then? You don't want to deliver breakfast to my sister, and you don't fancy my sister? If you end up together with her in the future, you're a little pig.
Joshua walked away with his ice cream afterward. Jeffrey nearly bit his tongue. That little imp just laid down a trap for him. Winnie burst into giggles and shrugged her shoulders helplessly. What can I say? What are you laughing at? Jeffrey sat down beside her. I'm laughing because you just got snubbed, Winnie chuckled. This is payback for all the times you've bullied me. Who's the bully between us? Now think carefully before answering, Jeffrey quipped. The more ice cream he ate, the more upset he got. He grabbed Winnie's ice cream and took another 2 bites of it. My favorite flavor. Winnie was annoyed too, so she grabbed his ice cream and took a big bite. It was so big that she was gasping from the coldness. She had sensitive teeth and couldn't close her mouth. Stupid, Jeffrey leaned forward and said, Spit it out. I'll bite half of it. Without thinking, Winnie spat out half the ice cream. Jeffrey bit the ice cream and their lips pressed together. The ice cream was split in 2, and the sweetness melted in the backs of their throats. Things were heating up. Their eyes locked on each other. Their minds went blank for a split second. Jeffrey swallowed a little more. He tried hard to hold himself back from kissing her further. Their lips parted, and Winnie pursed her lips. She was in a daze, and Jeffrey said beside her, So sweet. Her heart skipped a beat, and she turned to look at him. He was wiping the corner of his mouth with his slender fingers. I hope you don't think I meant your lips were sweet. I was referring to the ice cream. Her heartthrob was an illusion. The ice cream was too big, and Winnie ended up not finishing the entire thing. When Jeffrey was done with his, he finished hers as well when she was about to throw the remaining away. They were there till 10 o'clock, till the mall was about to close. Winnie finally dragged Joshua out of the play area.
It's so early, sister. How about we grab supper?
Joshua wasn't under his father's supervision now. He was a free bird. No, you've eaten your share tonight. Look at how round your stomach is. I'm going to have to send you back to Pa if you keep whining. Winnie rubbed his round belly and said gently but firmly. Joshua was quiet now. When they were back in the hotel, Jeffrey got out of the car as well. Joshua was shocked.
Are you going to be sleeping in the same hotel room as us?
Jeffrey looked amused. I have a room in the same hotel as your sister, just like the rest of the production crew. Is that very out of the ordinary?
Oh, you scared me.
Joshua patted his little chest. Jeffrey shook his head. The 3 of them boarded the elevator, and the doors opened on level 1. Jennifer was wearing a mask, and she walked in with her arms around Richard. The 4 of them looked at each other and blinked their eyes. Richard looked down at the little kid between the 2 of them, at Joshua. He had met Winnie and Jeffrey before. How did the 2 of them end up together? Who was the little man anyway? So the reason why you didn't join us for dinner was that the 2 of you had a date, Jennifer grinned. No, I had to accompany my little brother, when he stroked Joshua's head. Greet them.
Hello, sister. Hello, brother.
Joshua greeted them cheerfully. Jeffrey was upset. Look at this man. He was calling Richard brother so quickly. He had to bribe him to be called brother. Richard was so much older than him as well. You have such a young brother? Richard looked at Joshua in disbelief. Your parents are amazing. Winnie was sweating, and everyone would say that about her parents whenever they met Joshua. Are you here to spend time with Jennifer? Yeah, Richard said through smiling eyes. She's so busy, I have to come over to see her. He looked at Jeffrey. I don't think your body is that much nicer than mine. Jeffrey and Winnie were both speechless. He was saying this because Jennifer had stolen a few glances at Jeffrey in Venice when he had his top off. Oh, right. Jeffrey crossed his chest. The last time my sister was looking for some things at home, she found a huge stash of adult magazines in their storage room. My sister said that it was your prized collection. When are you going back there to take them back? It's taking up an awful lot of space. She doesn't want to throw them away either. They're your possessions. She doesn't want to upset you. The elevator was silent. Richard cleared his throat and said, "This is a misunderstanding. I bought those for Aaron years ago when he injured his leg. He just looked so bored at home. I hate those things." "Oh?" Jeffrey feigned ignorance. "My sister told me quite clearly that it was your prize collection. Classic magazines, huh?"
"I couldn't tell that you had such peculiar interest."
Jennifer was smiling in a forced manner. He was really making an impression on her. Richard was about to break down. "Baby!" Jennifer grunted and let go of his arm. She then crossed her arms and turned her face away from him. When the elevator reached the 10th floor, she walked out quickly. "You really are the same as your brother-in-law." Richard glared at Jeffrey before running out of the lift to chase after Jennifer. "Love, wait for me!" They could hear his desperate wails. Winnie almost felt bad for him. He didn't say anything. He was just jealous that Jennifer felt that you had a good physique. So what if he's jealous? Does it give him the right to go around snubbing people? If his body is not as nice as mine, he should go to the gym to train instead of making snide remarks. Anyway, it's not good for men to read those kind of magazines. Jennifer should keep him in check, Jeffrey said. What man doesn't like that kind of stuff, as if you hadn't browsed one yourself? Winnie pursed her lips. Joshua had a confused expression on his face.
Sister, what do men like to read?
Stay out of it, you're just a child. When he dragged Joshua out of the elevator, Jeffrey followed after them. I've never seen one before. Who would believe you? Winnie didn't want to discuss the topic any further in front of Joshua, so she quickened her footsteps. Only old men do such stuff, Jeffrey grunted softly. Winnie stopped in her tracks. Do you stay on the 12th floor too? No, I stay on the 14th floor. Jeffrey shook his head. Why aren't you going to the 14th floor then? Why are you following me around? Winnie asked. I had too much to eat, so I'm taking a stroll to digest my food and get some exercise. I need to burn off the calories. Do you have a problem with that? Jeffrey asked her. On the 10th floor, Jennifer took off her down jacket as she walked into the hotel room. Richard pounced on her as soon as he saw her exquisite figure. He hugged her tightly from behind as she turned to look at him. She was holding a small bottle in her hands. What is this? Richard looked intimidated. This is an anti-molester spray. Do you want to have a taste of it? Jennifer was eerily smirking. I heard that if this stuff gets into your eyes, you won't be able to open them for 3 days. Richard's legs were trembling now. Jen! Why would you carry this with you? You're a girl. You have plenty of security personnel around you all the time. Just in case, Jennifer said casually. There are plenty of perverts out there in the world. I'm not one of them. Richard truly wanted to murder Jeffrey at that moment. Aaron had warned him how annoying he was in the past. He shouldn't have provoked him. He should have just ignored him. You're a pervert for collecting adult magazines for your own pleasure. Don't tell me you're collecting them for research on female anatomy. Jennifer was expressionless. The only difference between you and a pervert is that you might not have acted on your desires. You merely buried your dirty thoughts in your own mind. Jen, you can't say that. I'm actually studying the swimwear styles, Richard said. I wanted to open a swimwear company back then. Yeah, to all go at more swimwear models in the future. Jennifer nodded her head. Baby, I was wrong, Richard finally said. I was ignorant and young before I met you. Never met a woman that I liked. I only browsed through that material when I was bored. I promise I'm not a flippant person. Just think about how inexperienced and clumsy I am in bed. Can't undermine my character just like that. Shut up! Jennifer rolled her eyes. I barely looked at Jeffrey and just paid him a little compliment. You argued with me over that for a few days. Reflect on yourself. Do you have the right to get upset with me? You've been looking at women's bodies in magazines, haven't you? Richard held up his hands. I've never looked at them ever since we started dating, I swear. I'll be a pig if I ever believe a man's words. Jennifer paused before continuing, saying, Since you have such eclectic hobbies, I won't stop you then. Richard swallowed. He had a bad feeling in his gut. Let me grant your wishes then. Jennifer called her own assistant. Go get a female swimwear magazine. I want to give them to our dear Mr. Richard. The more the better. You can get hundreds of them. Just let me know how much they cost. After she hung up, she said to Richard, The magazines will be here shortly. You will finish all the magazines and I will be doing an inspection after a month. What are you doing? Richard was sweating through his shirt. Jennifer was grinning now. Of course, I want you to read them till you're happy, till you're satisfied, till you're sick of them before you come to see me. Oh yeah, just a little reminder. No matter what you're going to gift me or how many times you're going to come see me, I won't let you touch me at all. I won't be sleeping with you either. She took her pepper spray and approached him again. Richard backed away timidly until he was out the door. Jennifer said, Richard, I don't want to criticize you, but look at the friends you surround yourself with. They're going through women like they're shopping for clothes. All you do with them is drink and party. I don't want to put you down, but you're over 30 years old now. It's time to work hard. Just look at Aaron. You want me to emulate him? Richard looked at her in disbelief. Jennifer slammed the door in his face. Richard blinked his eyes and grumpily called Aaron. Aaron, your brother-in-law crossed the line. Huh? What did he do to you? He was trying to connect the dots in his head. Richard told him about the encounter he had with Jeffrey in the elevator. How could he say something like that? I haven't read those magazines in ages. I feel so wrong now. Don't be so down, Aaron said casually. Jennifer isn't saying that she wants to break up with you and she didn't hit you. She's supporting your hobbies and allowing you to fully release yourself. What's there to complain about? Besides, she does have a point. What are you still doing hanging out with those people? I'm not saying that they're useless or incapable, but no decent man would be hanging around them as much as you do. Aaron interrupted him, saying, No decent woman would want to marry you at this rate. Don't say that, it chills my heart, Richard said weakly. Aaron chuckled. Every time I go out to entertain a client, April would question me and warn me about hanging out with the wrong company. She always threatens me about moving back with her family. Women hate stuff like that. You said you want to propose to Jennifer this year, didn't you? It'll be a miracle if she said yes. He hung up after that, and Richard was stunned. No, he must not let that happen. He was going to be a different man from that day on. In the villa, April asked the man who had just put down his phone, Excuse me, when did I ever question and warn you? I've been trying to get you out of the house, but you never want to. Aaron was instantly annoyed when he heard her questioning tone of voice. Let me ask you this then. Every woman in the world is trying to hold a tight rein over their husband. What about you? Wives always call their husbands when they go out late at night. Every time I'm out, I don't receive a single call from you. I'm the one calling you all the time, and you're either shopping or taking a stroll with Little Apple. It's almost as if you were liberated without me around. April was speechless from how indignant he was. He was lying to her face, and he was acting like he had the moral high ground. I can count on one hand the number of times you were out each month. The latest you've come home was 8:30 p.m. In the process of having a meal, you would text me over 10 times. So how can I have a chance to call you? Other wives are keeping a tight rein over their husbands because their husbands are being disobedient. That's true. I'm just too obedient. Aaron nodded his head and he looked pleased with himself. Look at me. Everyone would be so envious of you. How could you find any fault in me? When did I ever do such a thing? April sighed. Just now you called me a liar. Aren't you complaining? April said nothing. He was suggesting she should close her eyes whenever he lied in front of her in the future. Aaron continued saying, I'm just trying to portray myself as someone with a strict wife. I need other women to know that it would be extremely difficult to seduce me and difficult to handle my wife at home. I am so touched. April was holding back giggles. She had no idea what she should say, but she knew that Aaron was a lot better than Richard, who spent his days playing. Richard needs to change if he wants to have a wife. He's nearly 30 now, so he should behave more maturely. I agree. I would never marry him if I was Jennifer. Aaron pursed his lips and thought. He was speaking as a good brother of Richard's. April suddenly felt bad for him. At the hotel, Joshua had just showered and come out of the washroom. Winnie was drying him off and helping to dress him.
Sister, I don't think it's possible between you and Jeff,
Joshua said suddenly. Jeff? Winnie thought she had heard wrong.
Yeah, his name's too complicated. It doesn't sound nice either. I have a hard time remembering his name.
Joshua sounded frustrated.
I'll call him Jeff from now on.
Winnie thought about how angry Jeff would be if he found out about his nickname.
So he knows about Jenny?
Joshua continued saying.
I get the feeling that he doesn't like Jenny. If you're going to marry someone in the future, you have to marry someone who will accept Jenny. I will never let our little princess be treated any less.
Winnie was shocked. She curled her lips into a smile. He will accept her.
No, Winnie, he doesn't like Jenny,
Joshua stressed. He couldn't understand why his sister was being so stubborn. If he doesn't like her now, he will in the future, Winnie replied with certainty. Joshua looked at her serious expression and frowned deeply.
Sister, you're too delusional,
he remarked. Winnie sighed and then spoke. I'm gonna tell you a secret, but you have to promise me that this will be between the two of us. The heavens and the earth. You can't tell a single soul what I'm about to tell you, including our parents.
Yes, I promise.
Joshua quickly made a swearing sign when she heard that she was going to tell him a secret. Winnie burst into laughter. He is Jenny's father. He just doesn't know that Jenny is his child yet, she revealed. Joshua covered his mouth in shock. It was a major, earth-shattering secret. He took a long while to digest what she had just said before he replied.
No wonder I thought he looked a lot like Jenny.
Yes. Winnie was rather worried. She hoped that her daughter would also look a little like her after growing up.
Sis, he's really stupid.
Joshua didn't hold anything back.
He doesn't know that he has a daughter. However, I think it's no good even if he treats Jenny well. He must be good to you too.
That's right, Winnie nodded. Although she was troubled at times by her younger brother's maturity, there were some benefits too. That's why I'm in the process of getting to know him. If he isn't a good man, or if he's unfaithful or has a terrible personality, even if Jenny is his daughter, I won't tell him. If he's a good man, we can get together, but if he knows that Jenny's his daughter, even if we don't end up together, he will still fight for custody, she elaborated.
I understand.
Joshua had his hand placed on his chin in all seriousness.
I will never let the secret out. Jenny is our family's treasure, so she will always be Jenny, my niece, not Jenny, his daughter, he stated. Therefore, remember not to tell Mom or Dad either, Winnie reminded. All right, this is a secret between you and me, he answered.
Joshua was especially happy. He finally had a huge secret in his heart, and he instantly felt like an adult. As the secret was so heavy, Joshua lost sleep and slept till 8 a.m. the next morning, showing no signs of waking up. Winnie had just finished freshening up when she heard a knock on the door. She went over to take a look, only to find Jeffrey, who was there to deliver the promised breakfast. He didn't have any work scheduled today, so he was in a black long lying down jacket, jeans, and Dr. Martin boots. He had a tall figure, so the outfit didn't look bloated or out of place on him at all. You came a little early. Joshy hasn't woken up yet, Winnie said. Yes, I can tell. And you haven't even brushed your hair yet, Jeffrey nodded. It looks like a bird's nest." At his words, Winnie blushed as she glared at him. When she attended the function last night, the stylist put a lot of gel in her hair. She should have washed it out last night, but as she came back too late, she decided to put it off till this morning. However, because she hadn't had a proper rest recently, she ended up not wanting to get up from bed. "Am I wrong?" Jeffrey gave her a toothy smile. "I'm going to wash my hair," when he turned to leave. "Wash after you eat. I've already seen you at your worst." Jeffrey walked in. Joshua was sprawled out on the bed with all 4 of his limbs fully extended. His feet were on the pillow and only his tummy was covered by the blanket. "Huh? That pose is really quite something," Jeffrey said. "Children all sleep like this." When he turned around to look at him. "Jeffrey, does your mouth contain poison?" "I haven't brushed my teeth yet. You can try smelling it if you don't believe me." Jeffrey opened his mouth. When he thought he must be crazy, but she was the crazier one for actually walking over and pretending to sniff. "Indeed, no wonder your mouth is so stinky. It's overwhelmingly stinky." Jeffrey's head bent to stare at her lush lips that were moving incessantly, and he shifted forward to hush her pink lips. "Jeffrey, you—" When he raced away from him at light speed. Her head was raised, and her black shining eyes made her look like a small, frightened deer. "It's because you said my breath stinks, so I'm going to torment you with my stinky breath." Jeffrey continued staring at her unblinkingly. 2 red patches appeared on her fair face. His eyes shifted, and he moved forward again, pressing their lips together. When he tried to calm her racing heart as she said, "It is really stinky. It almost made me want to faint." "Well, then let it stink for a while more." Jeffrey barged into the room while she spoke. Winnie's legs were still numb, and her hands were dangling by her side, clutching her pants tightly. She didn't quite know what to do, especially with him kissing her so skillfully. When she shyly responded, Jeffrey went stiff for a moment, then he lost control and kissed her even harder. It still wasn't enough for him. Just as he wanted to throw the breakfast away to embrace her, a sound suddenly came from Joshua, who was on the bed. Winnie hurriedly pushed him off, turned away, and walked toward the bed with her head lowered. Joshua rolled once on the bed before he stuck his buttocks up in the air and pushed himself up.
"Sis, I'm hungry."
He rubbed at his eyes with his small, plump hands before he opened them. When he saw Jeffrey standing at the edge of the bed, his eyes widened in shock.
"Jeff, why are you here so early?"
he inquired. "Jeff?" Jeffrey's mouth twitched. He almost thought that he was hallucinating. What did this young brat call him? The last person who called him had already been beaten unconscious in the school bathroom. When he saw his darkened expression and pasted a smile on her face. "Jeff came to deliver breakfast for you." Jeffrey looked at her without saying anything. His eyes were round and wide in a silent protest.
"Really? That's great."
Joshua ran towards Winnie.
"What's for breakfast?"
Jeffrey just stared. He didn't want to talk. Still, Winnie took a look at the bag he was holding and said, "There's a lot of good food. Shall we brush our teeth first?"
"All right."
Joshua made his way over to the toilet. Winnie was worried that he would get water on himself, so she followed after him. Jeffrey stood at the doorway and watched the way Winnie gently wiped Joshua's face, mouth, and ear, and even helped him squeeze some toothpaste. For some reason, a weight settled on his heart as he watched the scene. Winnie had a daughter. She probably would take care of her daughter this way as well. Even if the 2 of them got back together, the fact that she already had a child with another man could not be changed. He still found it difficult to accept, but even more than that, he couldn't stop himself from getting closer to her like this. This was why he never explicitly said that he wanted to get back together. Although the 2 of them continued to flirt like this, neither of them broached this topic. He vaguely understood, yet he was still afraid. He turned around and left. His heart suddenly hurt too much, so much that he didn't know what to do with it. He might as well eat his sorrow away. By the time Winnie brought Joshua out, Jeffrey had already finished a bowl of porridge and a dozen pancakes by himself. Winnie stared at the empty bags. She was stunned. Did you just finish them?" "Yes." Jeffrey continued to eat his pancakes. "The 2 of you should sit down quickly. Don't worry, I bought 6 dozen. Winnie gulped. His appetite had become even more terrifying. Joshua tugged on Winnie's sleeve. Winnie bent down and he said softly into her ear,
Sister, he's such a big glutton. Is he able to earn money? If he isn't, will he impoverish you from all the food that he eats in the future?
Winnie's mouth twitched. Joshua started worrying again. What are you two whispering about? Jeffrey frowned. If you don't come soon, I'll finish all the food.
Coming!
Joshua anxiously ran over. Jeffrey brought a lot of breakfast foods, and they were all from authentic local cuisines. Winnie always believed in his taste as a foodie. Although they had broken up a long time ago, he was still so particular about food. The pancake exuded a thick fragrance. The bacon was juicy and meaty, and the bread had fresh jam filling.
This is really delicious.
Joshua enjoyed it so much that he almost bit his tongue.
Jeff, the breakfast you bought is really delicious.
Jeffrey forced himself to look up from the food he was eating. Little guy, be more respectful. You should be calling me brother, or I won't buy breakfast for you next time. Joshua saw how upset he was, then thought about how he didn't even know that he had become a father. His level of intelligence was rather worrying. Joshua subconsciously sighed and shook his head. Jeffrey's expression darkened. What are you sighing for?
Do you want to be a father?
Joshua asked with a cheeky smile. The moment he said that, both Winnie and Jeffrey looked over at him. Only the former's gaze was anxious while the latter was stone cold. Jeffrey was annoyed. What was this guy trying to imply? That if he wanted to be with Winnie, he must be prepared to father a child that wasn't his? Just eat your food. Winnie stuffed the pancake into his mouth. When you're done, I'll send you back to your dad. Jeffrey frowned. Aren't you returning in the afternoon? Yes, but Dad asked me out for lunch this afternoon, Winnie said. I'll have to head over there soon. Jeffrey grew silent. Well, he wasn't in a rush. After all, he would be going to watch her competition with April and his family in a week.
Jeff, let me add you on Instagram.
Joshua fished out a phone from his bag.
Let's keep in touch in the future.
You're using a phone at this age? Winnie sighed. She really didn't understand how her parents were raising him.
I just use it to contact people. I absolutely do not use my phone to play games. Those who play games don't turn out well.
Joshua opened his social media app.
Let's add each other. I post updates quite frequently so you can get to know a lot about me.
Who would want to know more about him, this egotistic, pesky child? However, he would be able to find out more about Winnie. Jeffrey reluctantly entered Joshua's number and found that the username was the world's most handsome Joshie. The corner of his mouth twitched.
Let's keep in touch in the future.
Joshua smiled in an especially sly manner. She suddenly regretted telling Joshua about Jeffrey last night. After breakfast, Winnie went to wash her hair. Jeffrey accompanied Joshua while he watched something on the television. Joshua would glance at Jeffrey every once in a while. Jeffrey originally intended to ignore it, but he grew increasingly irritated, especially since he felt that Joshua was looking at him as if looking at an idiot. What do you want to say? Jeffrey asserted.
I think that you can take a look at my page. There are a lot of photos of Jenny,
Joshua replied. Jenny? Jeffrey's brows knitted together so tightly that a fly could be squashed between them. Winnie's daughter? He inquired.
Yes, she's very adorable,
Joshua stated as he cocked his head.
How irksome if my sister marries you in the future and Jenny has to change her name,
remarked Joshua. Jeffrey quirked his lips mockingly. You are overthinking this, he replied. Why would she take his surname when she wasn't his daughter? Joshua opened his mouth to speak, but Jeffrey glanced over coldly. Don't talk to me. I want to have some peace. Joshua silently scolded him in his heart. Idiot. At 11 p.m., Jeffrey drove Winnie and her brother to the entrance of the hotel. Joshua got off first.
Bye, Jeff. I'm very happy to have met you. The next time you visit, I will definitely show you around.
How about you? Jeffrey ignored his invitation and looked directly toward Winnie. Next week, I'll be following my sister to watch your competition. he explained. Winnie had heard he was going to watch her with April and was rather speechless. However, knowing that he would be there made her a little nervous. Well, I welcome you to come. Is that all? Jeffrey raised his brows. What else do you want? I need to prepare for the competition during this period, Winnie replied seriously. The competition is getting fiercer as it progresses, she added. Jeffrey stayed silent for a while before he asked, How far do you personally want to go? In the past, I thought I'd be rather content if I made it through the first 3 rounds. However, the more the competition progresses, the more I want to make it to the finals. At the very least, I want to give it my best shot and leave with no regrets. As Winnie spoke, her eyes shone with a yearning for her dream. All right, Jeffrey understood and nodded. She probably wouldn't be thinking much about romantic relationships during this time. He shouldn't distract her either. Winnie had a meal and then flew straight back. The Saturday before the competition, after 2 rounds of rehearsals with her team at the broadcasting station, Winnie said to her producer who was beside her, I still feel a little dissatisfied. Doesn't quite have the effect that I want. Something seems to be missing. Winnie, Bob walked over hurriedly. We are in trouble. Winnie frowned. Bob passed her the phone. These are the photos that reporters took of the press release in Beijing a few days back. Some big media houses posted it today. The photo was of her having an indifferent expression when standing beside Maddie, and when the two of them walked past each other, they didn't even acknowledge each other, treating each other with cold civility. It had been reported that ever since Winnie became famous from being on the world's top singer, she had been disregarding Maddie, forgoing even the most basic courtesy and respect for a senior. Some netizens even dug out photos of her smiling at Maddie when they worked together in the past and called her a snob. Another singer also posted an oddly worded declaration. I remember Maddie as a humble senior who took care of his juniors. When we auditioned together, I was eliminated. Only he and Winnie were left. The production crew decided for them to collaborate on the theme song, and for Winnie to sing the interlude songs. Not only did Maddie not get upset, he even graciously congratulated Winnie and shook her hand. Who knew that people would change so drastically? Many netizens supported in the comments section, saying that Winnie's character was questionable. Some said that the production team didn't bring Maddie, but Winnie, to the Venice Film Festival because she slept with some higher up. Others said that Ben had arranged it for her. Bob was so angry that he was grinding his teeth. They want to bring you down right as you're becoming famous. Tomorrow is the competition. They are obviously making trouble for you on purpose. Seeing the horrible comments online, Winnie couldn't continue reading them anymore. This incident? It was probably planned. During the press conference, I smiled at Maddie several times, but he ignored me completely. After that, I stopped trying to pretend, which resulted in these kinds of photos being captured. He is definitely upset about the time that you went to Venice without him. After receiving the Golden Lion, you have been basking in the limelight since returning. He probably reached the limit of his generosity, Bob said. Who knows what nonsense he may spout in front of the media. Winnie felt incredibly disappointed. She had quite a good impression of Maddie from the first time they had worked together. They even exchanged some opinions on music, and as her senior, he had taught her a lot. To think that things would change so much after a half a year? The reporters will contact him. We'll wait and see what he says. Then you won't explain anything now? Bob raised his brows. You will just allow yourself to be scolded like this? Just post one line. The innocent knows his innocence. Let's focus our efforts on preparing for the competition, Winnie suggested. Bob watched her expression worriedly. Are you able to calm down? Those unscrupulous reporters purposely release news like this right now to distract you. If I get eliminated tomorrow or if my ranking drops, others will take even more delight in my trouble and will even say that it's karma. Therefore, it is even more reason why I must not lose. Winnie's gaze was determined. I must rank among the top 3 in tomorrow's competition. I can't hold back anything. When she finished, she turned around to continue discussing music with the team. Bob watched the silhouette of her back with mixed emotions. Tara once said that Winnie was like a weed. Despite her amiable and easygoing appearance, She was stronger than everyone else on the inside. However, all female artists who wanted to stay in the entertainment industry needed courage like this. That night, Winnie posted a photo of her side profile while she was practicing with the captions, "The innocent knows his innocence. All efforts on preparing for the competition." With this response, some netizens cheered her on, while others continued to attack her on the internet. The next afternoon, a reporter posted a snippet of an interview with Maddie from a press conference. Reporter: "Winnie has become immensely popular recently. Since you have worked with her before, what is your impression of her?" Maddie: "She's quite a talented singer." Reporter: "Is that all? Do you want to work with her again? What do you think of her character?" Maddie smiled but didn't reply. Reporter: "I saw the two of you didn't have any interaction just now." Maddie: "Many things have happened in the past half a year." Reporter: "Are you talking about how Winnie suddenly became popular?" Maddie smiled in silence. Since the interview was published, allegations against Winnie's character grew. When Bob saw it, he grew so angry that he started scolding in the television station's holding room. What is Maddie trying to imply? Being so vague in his responses? Is he insinuating that you've changed since becoming famous and that he doesn't want to work with you again because he thinks that your character is questionable? That is where he is very clever. In the whole conversation, he never said anything bad about me, but pushes me closer to the fiery pits with every sentence. In the end, you can't even blame him." Winnie smiled bitterly. "Ask Tara to find a lawyer for me. I want to sue those ruining my reputation. Remember to publish a declaration from my lawyer. If any reporters want an interview, wait until the competition is over." That afternoon, Tara helped her publish an official declaration. The letter was stamped by Rosewood City law firm. It was signed and issued by Kiera. Winnie was stunned for a moment when she saw it. Then she called Tara saying, "Why is Kiera my lawyer?" "Isn't that pretty good?" Tara said. "As you become more popular in the future, you'll be in all sorts of situations that involve lawsuits. You need a good lawyer, and this law firm is the most reputable one in Rosewood City right now. Kiera is also the firm's best. She has become one of the most sought-after lawyers in the country these past 2 years. Since this is actually a small issue, I didn't expect that she would take on this case personally and handle all of your cases in the future." "I understand. I will personally thank her when I see her." Winnie hung up the phone. She thought to herself that it might be because of Ella that Kiera was willing to take on her case. Rosewood City. Jeffrey was lying down in the library, taking an afternoon nap, when he heard some students talking. Who would have thought that Winnie is that kind of person? That matter between her and Maddie may not be true either. The entertainment industry has so many lies and falsehoods, and I've heard from many older students that Winnie is quite an upright person. Although she became famous in the last school term, she still came to school often and attended school activities frequently. The news never changed about how she used to be, only that she changed after becoming famous. People all change, and if you think about it, she's still young. Why would the production crew bring her, of all people, to the Venice Film Festival when Maddie was a lot more qualified than her at the time? There may be something between her and Ben. Look, since everything blew up, Ben has been the first to back her up. What you're saying makes sense. Jeffrey stood up and walked straight towards the two female voices that were talking. The girl dressed in white hadn't had time to react when he walked up to her. Dumbfounded, the girl looked at the breathtakingly handsome face hovering above her. "What were you talking about just now? What happened to Winnie?" Jeffrey questioned her coldly. You can go online and look at the headlines right now," the girl stammered. Long story short, Winnie's reputation has collapsed. The netizens are asking for her to withdraw from the world's top singer. Winnie's side even issued a letter of demand. Jeffrey's dark eyes wavered with emotion. He had only just returned a few days ago, and something this big had already happened? He immediately unlocked his phone to take a look. It didn't take long for him to understand the gist of it. After spending so much time in the industry, it took only bits of information to get a picture of what happened. To think Maddie was this shameless. Although there was something a little off between him and Winnie, they were still on the same production. Even if he was jealous, it was over. and a senior in the industry probably wouldn't stoop so low to attack a young girl. However, it seemed that despicable people were never in short supply in the entertainment industry. What infuriated Jeffrey was that an hour ago, Ben posted, "Some people online have overestimated my ability, as if I could easily influence a big shot director who has won the Golden Lion. I don't want to say anything more right now. When our new movie starts showing, you will all see Winnie's talent and understand why Director Woods picked her. Oh, right. I also worked hard back then to earn a chance to participate in Director Woods' new work." Even worse, Winnie had liked Ben's post. That despicable Ben. Jeffrey got incredibly mad and called Sean immediately. "Winnie's in big trouble. As the director, why haven't you made a sound yet?" "What happened to Winnie? I'm still vacationing in Europe now." "Stop vacationing and ask the production team to post something quickly." Jeffrey hung up, then called Jennifer. "Aren't you close to Winnie? Why haven't you posted anything to back her up?" Jennifer made a sound in disbelief. "I thought you and her didn't see eye to eye. Why are you in such a hurry to make me say something now? Why don't you post something yourself?" "You guys have more fans and get more attention. Your words are more effective," Jeffrey replied stoically. "Hurry up." "Why are you in such a hurry? Ben just posted something, so I'll wait until tonight," Jennifer said with a smile. "That won't do. Winnie has a competition tonight. What if this gets to her and she loses? Post something now." "Oh wow, you already sound so anxious for her," Jennifer teased him. "All right, I'll post something myself. Will that do?" Jeffrey dug out the phone numbers of all his friends in the entertainment industry and called each of them. Then he skipped school, went back home, took out his laptop, and registered over 10 accounts which he used to write long posts to scold Maddie thoroughly. Sure, he could have hired someone to do this for him, but it was much more satisfying to do it himself. At 3 p.m., April gave him a call. "Jeffrey, quickly back up Winnie online. The netizens these days are really going overboard. They're vicious when scolding other people. That Maddie as well, he's shameless." "It's none of my business, so I won't post anything," Jeffrey said carelessly as he continued to type. "Hey, how can you be like this? The two of you are on the same production team, for goodness sake. Jennifer, Ben, and Leonard have all backed her up. Even Director Woods and some random foreign celebrities have posted something. It isn't right if you don't say anything," April said angrily. "All right, seeing how you're pressuring me, I'll reluctantly make a post." Jeffrey's lips curved upwards as he said this. He then logged onto his own account and posted, "I heard that Winnie has started bullying people since she became famous. LOL, that's quite the joke. I bullied her every day when we were in Venice and she didn't dare to even complain once." These words were way too arrogant. April called again to scold him the moment she saw the post. "I told you to post something for her and you posted something like this? You might as well not have." "Why are you so troublesome? I still have work to do. I'm hanging up." When she heard the disconnected tone on the phone, April finally started to understand why Melissa was so dismissive of her son's emotions. At 10 p.m., Winnie came out from the competition. Bob walked over with an odd expression and a phone in hand. "Tara's looking for you." Winnie had guessed that the call was about the matter with Maddie, but she had just picked up her phone when Tara's excited voice shouted over the line, "Winnie, just who do you have backing you up? That the famous British actor Pierce actually posted something for you on Facebook, and the Hollywood producer Parfit as well. They are all world-famous actors. Not just them. Jennifer, Sean Woods, and Leonard as well. Just how much have you hidden from me?" Confused, Winnie rubbed her ears, thinking that she had heard wrong. "Tara, are you still dreaming?" "I feel as if I'm still dreaming too," Tara said faintly. "There is no one better connected than you in our entire industry. All the netizens are taking your side now and are attacking Maddie instead. There's this fan with the username Winnie is my woman who went crazy and scolded Maddie and every single person who attacked you online. He went off so much that Maddie even blocked him because he got too famous, becoming one of the top searches. Was there someone that amazing among her fans?" "Tara, I really have no idea about any of these people. I've been busy preparing for the competition and I'm in no mood to pay these any attention, Winnie replied seriously. What a strange turn of events, Tara muttered. But at least we've gotten over this issue. While the tides are in your favor, don't forget to besmirch Maddie a little as well. On her way back to the hotel, Winnie browsed the net. The top searches right now were, Jeffrey made a post. Jennifer backed Winnie. Parfit actually knows Winnie. Just how well connected is Winnie? Winnie is my woman is so scary. Winnie was completely bewildered. She didn't know whether to be amused or angry at Jeffrey's strangely worded post. As for that Winnie is my woman, this person's firepower was just incredible. He even declared that he would scold anyone who tried to slander Winnie in the future. Bob, do you know if this person's a fan? Winnie asked. Bob shook his head and said, I've already asked your managers. None of them have heard of this person. He just showed up and swept away the millions of enemy troops. Winnie didn't know how to respond. After a short silence, Bob lowered his head and continued with, Do you think it's Mr. Jeffrey? He's worked in a few countries and has a lot of international friends. Maybe the account named Winnie is my girlfriend belongs to him? Winnie's heart leaped. That thought had occurred to her too. Apart from Jeffrey, she didn't know who else it could be. I'll ask him later about it when I get back to my room. When she arrived at the hotel, Winnie called Jeffrey before even changing her clothes. Can I help you? Jeffrey's deep, proud voice was heard on the other end. I just wanted to ask you if it was you who arranged for Pyrus and the other famous artists to support me, Winnie mumbled. I don't even know them. I'm glad you're aware of that. Jeffrey sounded unconcerned. Who else but I would do that for you? Ben? Except for posting some harsh words, what else has he ever done to help you? Only Jeffrey was silly enough to help me without regret. I should be figuring out who's the man that deserves to be cherished by me now. Besides, I'm the only person in the world who's allowed to bully you. Maddie's nothing. He sounded scornful and angry. Why didn't you say anything? The sudden silence made Jeffrey feel a little awkward. Thank you. Winnie's voice was low and soft. She walked to the window and looked outside, feeling so warm and fulfilled. Yesterday, she was under enormous pressure and felt so helpless. Today, she was on top of the world. Is that all? Jeffrey crossed his legs and said with discontent. Aren't you going to say anything else? Wait until after the contest. I have something to tell you when I'm not busy, Winnie said. What's it about? Can't you tell me now? Jeffrey asked without thinking. I don't want to get distracted. I need to focus on the contest, said Winnie softly. If she told him about the baby now, he would come straight from Rosewood City and do all kinds of things to distract her from the contest. Okay, Jeffrey agreed. He had no idea what she wanted to tell him. Oh, and another thing. Is the account named Winnie is my girlfriend yours? Winnie stuttered, her face reddened slightly. Do you want it to be mine? Jeffrey raised his eyebrows and said thoughtfully, Do you want to be my girlfriend? Cut the crap. Is it you or not? Winnie cleared her throat. Of course not. Do I need to do something like that? Don't I have anything better to do? How ridiculous is that account name? I never use something stupid like that, Jeffrey said coolly with his eyes fixed on the account name on his computer. Why do you ask? Do you want it to be me? His voice contained a slight trace of anticipation and excitement that he didn't even notice. No, Winnie said awkwardly. I was just asking. I'd thank him properly if I knew who he was. He's amazing. In fact, being his girlfriend for real isn't impossible. Jeffrey froze. At that moment, he regretted his little fib. Why on earth did he deny the fact just now? Maybe he was too ashamed to admit that he owned that account. If she knew it belonged to him, she'd realize that he wanted to be her boyfriend, wouldn't she? That would be so embarrassing. After all, she once cheated on him. But what did her words mean? If the account belonged to some random guy, would she still want to be his girlfriend? Don't you dare! The thought made his heart sink and his voice rise. Hearing his voice, Winnie curled her lip corners in a small smile and said, Why don't I dare? He helped me, and I'm touched. I helped you too, said Jeffrey. Would Leonard and Sean have put in a good word for you if I hadn't asked them to? Yeah, you guys have all helped me, but I'm only one person. What can I do? I can't be with both you and that mysterious guy, can I? Winnie laughed and made a joke. Winnie, I'll teach you a good lesson when I get there. Just you wait, Jeffrey said unhappily. Also, will you make it to the next round? You won't be eliminated this time, will you? Shut up. That won't happen. I did well today. You'll know tomorrow when the show airs. I'm going to take a shower now. Bye. Winnie ended the call. Jeffrey spent a few minutes staring at the call duration shown on his phone, then continued searching online for the people who said terrible things about Winnie. He planned on attacking those people so hard. Midnight. Winnie posted, I haven't responded to what happened recently because I felt that it wouldn't be necessary. Perhaps, as Maddie had said, a lot of things happened in the past half a year. We have all drifted apart a little. The great time that we had together is part of history now. All I want is to stay true to my original self. I want to thank all my friends who have been supportive during this time. Within a few minutes, over 10,000 comments were left under that post. Passionate little tadpole. I want to hug you, Winnie. We all know who's right and who's wrong. Some people aren't young anymore, but they just don't want peace. Love, Winnie the most. Winnie, we believe you. You're the best. We can all see who's been having a moral quality problem here. Winnie's my girlfriend. Go for it, girl. You're the best. Winnie clicked on the Winnie is my girlfriend's page and found the location of the account owner, Rosewood City. The account was registered today. She couldn't think of a second person in Rosewood City who would do that. Was he aware that she was able to see his location? Winnie sighed, wanting to laugh a little. Thursday, Rosewood City Airport. Jeffrey spent 10 minutes waiting before seeing Aaron and April walking over hand in hand. Aaron was carrying a suitcase and wearing a pair of Uggs. April was wrapped in a ginger down coat. Melissa followed behind them. At her side was Kenneth, looking like an assistant, carrying a large lady's bag and a suitcase. Seeing the group of people, Jeffrey furrowed his eyebrows and said, We've agreed to meet here at 2. I'm the only one who got here on time. What if we miss the plane? If we miss the plane, we'll switch to the next one. There's plenty of flights. Why are you so impatient? Aaron asked him, totally unruffled. I've always been punctual and efficient, Jeffrey declared. Why are you guys alone? Where's Auntie Caitlin and her daughter? Jeffrey asked. Yeah, well, where are they? I just called them and they said they were on their way. Aaron took out his phone with a frown. As he was looking for Caitlin's number, April patted him gently on the shoulders and said, No need to call them again. They're here. Aaron turned around and pulled a long face. Caitlin was holding a handbag wearing a fur coat looking quite fashionable. Near her was Jack, wearing a great coat, pushing a suitcase. Sylvia was sitting on top of it very happily. Oh, how sweet, April sighed. Aaron glanced at her, then walked up to his mother and sister, stared at Jack coldly, and said to Sylvia, You didn't tell me he's coming with us. I'm sorry, I didn't buy his ticket. No worries, I already took care of that, Sylvia said with a grin. Earlier, he said he couldn't come because he had to finish a project. Now the project's been finished, so he's here. We haven't traveled together yet. Aaron turned down his mouth corners. This is a family vacation. Do you understand? Brother, Jack called him. His gorgeous face wore an innocent look. Aaron's mouth was set in a straight line. He's calling you brother. We're family. April walked over and held her husband's arm. Aaron turned to her, looking confused. Oh, really? As a man who was running a public company, he felt that his brain wasn't working well enough at that moment. Sister? Jack scratched his head with a shy smile. April looked at him sympathetically and felt as if her heart was melting. Aaron dragged April to the side. What are you two doing? We're going for a few days. Why did you bring so much luggage? Mom's stuff is in there too, said Sylvia blandly. Besides, I can sit on this large suitcase. Haven't many famous couples been doing that in airports? Before, she was so jealous of those couples. She had a boyfriend at that time, but never had a chance to travel together with him. Every time she went on a trip with her friends, she had to carry her luggage. Now she finally had someone to travel with. She intended to let him carry the luggage. Aaron gave her a look, We're taking a trip, not to show off your happy relationship, he said. Like you're not showing off your happy marriage? Sylvia looked at the Uggs he was wearing and said sourly, My sister-in-law bought you so many pairs of Uggs before you guys got married. Now you finally have a chance to wear them again. We're still in Rosewood City. Aren't they hot? You're the only CEO I know who'd wear Uggs in public. Glaring at her, Erin said, This is kindness from your sister-in-law. They've been lying to my closet for so long. This time we're finally going somewhere cold. Of course I'll wear them. Shouldn't we be boarding the plane by now? Where's Jeffrey? April reminded the others. He went to check the luggage while you guys were arguing, Kenneth said. Why is that boy so impatient? Melissa sighed with a small smile. On the plane, Jack sat far away from the others because his tickets were bought at the last minute. Right after the plane took off, April got upset. What should I do? I miss Apple. We're both away from him now. I wonder if he'll cry all night. We should have brought him with us. He'll be fine. Erin held her hand and said, Boy needs to learn to be independent. He can't always rely on his parents. One day he'll know that we did this for his own good. Really? April gave him a sidelong glance of disbelief. Erin nodded earnestly, then whispered in April's ears. We're going to be alone tonight. Let's do something. April looked into his shining eyes. After arriving, they took a ride to a hotel near West Lake. Erin booked 5 rooms, one for April and himself, one for Melissa and Kenneth, one for Sylvia, one for Caitlin, and one for Jeffrey. One more room was needed because Jack had joined the group. However, when they went to check in, the hotel staff told them there weren't enough rooms available. They were one short. This area is a popular scenery spot. All the rooms were booked this morning. Erin knitted his brows. Sylvia said, Since there are no other rooms, Jack will. I'll never agree to let you two share a room, Erin interrupted him with a somber tone. Don't you even think about sleeping together with him before you two get married. Hearing his voice, Jack trembled a little. Feeling guilty, he felt his beautiful face turn red. He wondered if Erin would want to kill him if he knew that he and Sylvia had slept together long ago, and had even gotten familiar with each other's bodies. Why is your face so red? Jeffrey asked. Jack stuttered. My brother mentioned sleeping together for no reason. He's so shy. How can he not blush? Sylvia worried that Jack might collapse under pressure and tell Erin the truth, so she hurriedly said, Brother, can you please let me finish? I'm not going to share a room with him. I was going to say that maybe I can sleep with Mom and let him have my room. No, Caitlin refused straightforwardly. That's a single room. You're an awful sleeper. We end up fighting over space every time we share a bed. Mother, April said jokingly, how could you say that in front of Mr. Kipling? You might scare him off. He doesn't have the guts to run, Sylvia snorted. We've gotten used to sharing a bed, and he's used to letting me take up all the space, she thought to herself. Of course, she didn't dare to say this. Jack scratched his head shyly. He'll share a room with Jeffrey then. Erin gave his order, then picked up his luggage and went upstairs. I don't agree, Jeffrey immediately objected. His plan was not to share a room with a guy. You want him and me to sleep in the same bed? Seriously? He's with your sister already. They'll be sleeping in the same bed sooner or later. I think we should just let them be together. I believe they'll both be happy to do that. I won't allow it, said Erin, putting on a poker face and looking like a brutal king. Put yourself in my place and think about it. Before I married your sister, why did you keep such a close eye on her? How dare you even mention that? Jeffrey snorted coldly. How did you treat my sister back then? You got her into your bedroom before you married her. I think you really should let your sister and her boyfriend sleep together so you'll feel what I felt. You... Erin glared at him. At last, he dragged Jeffrey to the side and said, If you don't do what I said, I might ruin things between you and Winnie tonight, believe it or not. Jeffrey stared at him contemptuously and angrily. Winnie is my girlfriend? How ridiculous is that account name? Erin sneered. Wonder how Winnie would feel if she knew. Jeffrey stayed silent. If he could kill people with his eyes, Erin would have died 1,000 times already. How did you know? Jeffrey asked through clenched teeth. I have so many people working for me. Any IT worker could figure it out. Aaron gave him a bland glance. You've been working hard. You spent 36 hours attacking those people online without sleeping or resting. Jeffrey stayed silent. Aaron added, also, did you know that your account can show people in your location? Your account clearly shows that the user is based in Rosewood City. Jeffrey still didn't say anything. Really, he didn't know about that. He mainly used Facebook before. The look on his gorgeous face grew even more sullen than before, and he couldn't control it. It's fine, though. When you went to college in Rosewood City, she had a lot of suitors back then, so she might not suspect you. Aaron kindly tried to comfort him. Jeffrey honestly did not want to say anything to him. So tonight, can you share a room with Jack? Aaron asked. Sharing a room with Professor Kipling isn't a bad thing, Jeffrey responded with a cold face. We're both men, no big deal. As he suddenly changed his attitude, people all looked at him in surprise. None of them asked any questions, though. After all, as long as he agreed to share a room with Jack, the problem could be considered solved. While waiting for the elevator, April sneakily dragged Aaron closer to her and asked him, What did you say to Jeffrey to make him agree? It's a secret between us guys, Aaron said with a mysterious smile. April snorted. She was glad to see the relationship between her husband and brother growing closer and closer, though. After going upstairs, people went to their rooms. Jeffrey and Jack had to share a room. Jeffrey threw himself onto the bed once he got into the room. After spending a while laying there, the weird silence in the room made him raise his head to find that Jack was scowling at him. Jeffrey thought Jack was upset because he had taken up too much room on the bed, so he hurriedly moved slightly to the side and said, You can lie down here. Jack shook his head and said softly, You just got off the plane. A lot of people sat in your seat on that plane. You're now carrying countless germs, but you lay on the bed with your clothes on. It's unhygienic. Groan. Jeffrey didn't know what to say. Why me? Why me? After he finished talking, Jack opened his suitcase, took out a sheet and a quilt, and started making the bed for himself. After spreading the sheet, he folded the quilt neatly and put it on the side, then said, This is my quilt. I'm not going to share it with you. Jeffrey kept quiet. And what makes him think I want to share his quilt with him, huh? The more he thought about his current situation, the unhappier he became. So he texted Winnie. We're already here. You know with whom I'm sharing a room? Sylvia's boyfriend. This is so lame. They made me share a room with a guy. 5 minutes later, Winnie replied to him. I was practicing singing just now and didn't see the message. Isn't that nice? You always tell people you're gay. Jeffrey was amused. Could they still chat happily? A minute later, Winnie sent him another message. I heard Sylvia's boyfriend is a scientist. He should be very knowledgeable. I think you guys can have a nice talk. Jeffrey replied, What's to talk about? He's a 30-year-old nerd. Winnie, you two can talk about science. That theme seems popular now. As a director and a screenwriter, you should learn about all sorts of people, even nerds. Jeffrey found her words made sense, so he turned and said to Jack, Professor Kipling, what project have you been working on recently? Jack thought for a moment, then said, High-energy particles. Among all high-energy particles, only electron E and proton P can reach high energy by the accelerator-acceleration method. The other high-energy particles, such as charge, plus, minus, meson. Oh, right. Jeffrey buried his head in his arms and said, I don't know what you're talking about. Forget it. I think I need to rest. Blinking his eyes, Jack stopped talking. He fixed his eyes on the door, waiting for Sylvia. Jeffrey hid under the blanket and texted Winnie again. I tried talking to him. I didn't understand one word he said. Will you come over for dinner? Winnie didn't reply to him. She was probably rehearsing for tomorrow. After all, there would be another round of contestants and she had to be at her best. If Jack weren't in the room, he would give her a call right now. 10 minutes later, Sylvia came over. Jack immediately stood up to welcome her. Baby, I missed you, he said. Jeffrey twitched his lips. They were only separated for 20 minutes. How could he possibly be missing her already? How are you doing here? Sylvia held his hand. Do you need anything? Let me know. I need you, Jack said affectionately. Sylvia smiled, a big, happy smile. Jeffrey stayed silent, shuddering slightly. This was too much. Jeffrey, please take care of Jack at night. Thank you very much. Sylvia talked to Jeffrey with a grin. He's a bit shy and he doesn't like talking much. He knows little about how to get along with others, but he's a nice person. Jeffrey responded to her in a low voice, then went back to his phone. Sylvia turned to Jack and said, Jeffrey looks cold and proud, but he's warm on the inside. He's a very good person. Oh, but it has nothing to do with me. Jack blinked his eyes and said, You should tell that to his girlfriend. Sylvia wasn't sure what to say about that. Jeffrey didn't want to say anything. He only wanted the two people in his room to disappear soon. Let's go to my room and let Jeffrey have some time alone. Sylvia found Jeffrey so annoying, so she quickly whisked Jack away. Jeffrey sighed with relief. Thank goodness! Suddenly, the world was so quiet. But how unfair the world was. Dull and rigid people like Aaron and Jack had girlfriends while he was still single. Go figure. 4:00 in the afternoon. People in the family group chat agreed to meet in the hotel lobby. They planned to visit the broken bridge together. Even though it was cold out, people came from all over the country to see that snowing broken bridge. After meeting with the others, Jeffrey asked, Where are we going for dinner? He made it sound like a casual question. A restaurant nearby. Winnie said the food there isn't bad and the place is nice. They have a courtyard, April said. Jeffrey grew excited the moment he heard Winnie's name. She's not from here. Is she sure the food's good? She asked someone from the TV station for a recommendation. She's pretty sure. April glared at him. Don't be mean to her. You're a man. Be generous. I'm not mean to her. Jeffrey looked at the snow-covered landscape and said, But I wasn't expecting to have her at dinner. She still needs to prepare herself for the contest tomorrow night. Yeah, I haven't seen her in a big half a year. She is so busy, but still, she decided to come see me. She's my best friend, said April happily. Once her voice faded, she heard two men snorting with laughter. What does that look on your face mean? She was a little displeased. The snowy broken bridge is so beautiful, Aaron sighed. There was a poem. The West Lake looks like the fair lady at her best, whether she is richly adorned or dressed. April just ignored them. Ugh, boys will be boys. After spending some time appreciating the beautiful snow, the group of people went to the restaurant. Winnie was already there. She was wearing a thick down coat and a bright red scarf and was standing in the courtyard. Her brows were slim and dark. Her lips were thin and perfectly shaped. In the dim light of dusk, she looked stunningly beautiful. Winnie, long time no see! April rushed up to her and gave her a huge hug. I missed you. April, I missed you too. Winnie hugged her back. How have you been? Good. You? I've been good too. Winnie nodded. Couldn't be better. Jeffrey furrowed his brow and said snippily, Your conversation's so boring. Can't you girls talk about something more interesting? April shot him a dirty look. How is our conversation boring? Feel free to say something interesting if you can. On hearing that, Jeffrey fixed his eyes on Winnie. Under his gaze, she felt uneasy and worried he might say something inappropriate to embarrass her. Much to her relief, he moved his thin lips slightly and said, The red scarf doesn't suit you. It doesn't look good on you. She decided to play it cool by ignoring his remark. Pulling a face, April swung her bag of sugar-coated berries at his head. Ugh! He was incorrigible. But Jeffrey ducked his head just in time. Observing his little spat, Melissa felt a sharp pang of worry in her heart. Will I ever become a mother-in-law? Sigh. My son seems incapable of holding a normal conversation with the girl. After a momentary pause, she walked up to Winnie with a warm smile and said, Winnie, we haven't seen each other in a while. You don't have a boyfriend yet, do you? Is there someone in your life? No, Winnie felt a bit awkward and wondered why Melissa was being extra friendly to her. Auntie, you guys, please come in. It's so cold outside. What a nice girl, Melissa nodded. She couldn't stop showering her with praise. The group walked into the private room. Winnie picked up the menu and said, Everyone, please order whatever you'd like to try. Dinner's on me. No, it's on me, Aaron said blandly. These are all my family members. There's no reason for you to pay. I agree, Melissa hurriedly nodded. You worked hard for your money. Let them pick up the tab. They can all afford it. I'd like to pay, Jeffrey said. Everyone looked at him with shocked expressions. April didn't know how stingy he had typically been to other people, but she was still surprised. Why, how nice of you. May I ask why you suddenly want to treat us to dinner tonight? This is our first family vacation, Jeffrey said. I think it's imperative. I made some extra money earlier this year, so, well, why not? His generosity deeply touched April. Kenneth almost cried. It was the first time he had heard such warm words flow from his son's cold mouth. Mel, our son has grown up, he said. Melissa gave a cold smile after sizing up the situation. My son is lying. He's only doing this because of the girl. All right, as your mother, I'm happy to hear that. People, please order whatever you want. Don't worry about saving pennies, just order the most expensive thing on the menu. Meatball, truffle soup, and beef stew. Jeffrey twitched his mouth corners. Humph. She was not thinking about saving me money at all. When the delicious dishes were served, Sylvia introduced Jack to Winnie. This is my boyfriend, Jack. Winnie smiled at Jack and said, Professor Kipling is handsome and elegant. Ouch! Someone stomped on her foot hard before she had a chance to finish her sentence. She turned her head back to look at Jeffrey. It was him. He did it. Why are you looking at me that way? What's wrong? Jeffrey put on an innocent face. Winnie didn't have the heart to ask him why he did that in front of so many people, so she pulled her foot out from under him and stomped him back twice as hard. She regretted not wearing heels today. Jeffrey stayed expressionless, focused on eating. Tilting her head to the side, Winnie said, Sylvia, Professor Kipling, have you two set a date for your wedding? Jack dropped his fork and gave Sylvia a shy glance. Any time. Sylvia coughed slightly. How was she supposed to respond to that? I think you might get married before I do. You see, you caught the bridal bouquet at April's wedding. You can't believe in something like that, said Winnie blandly. Maybe you can. Sylvia raised her eyebrow. I almost got it that day, but in the end, it just fell into your arms. I think God arranged that. Jeffrey knitted his brows and fell into deep thought. Sylvia and her boyfriend seemed to be in a perfect relationship. It looked as if they would marry by next year. If Winnie got married before they did? Would Winnie get married this year? Who would she marry? Would she marry him? Would she marry someone else, like Ben? Thinking about that possibility, Jeffrey instantly became sullen. Winnie didn't detect that look on his face. Melissa had been exceptionally nice to her during the dinner. She kept telling the girl to eat more. Come on, you've been working so hard recently that you've lost some weight. Try this soup. How about this? Oh, the beef is nice. Thank you, Auntie Mel. You try some of this too. Winnie was a little nervous because of Melissa's attitude. She was always a good person, but was never especially so nice to her. The most important thing is for you to have a good meal, Melissa said to her with a grin. The people on the scene who didn't know what was going on found Melissa's behavior weird. April put her mouth to Aaron's ear and whispered, My mom is acting as if she just found a long-lost daughter. Aaron gave her a small smile. It seemed that Melissa had found out something. Unlike her, his wife had been growing sillier and sillier ever since they had the baby. After dinner, it started snowing. People found the view beautiful, so they decided to take a stroll by the side of the snowy West Lake to help with digestion. The snow-covered lake was breathtakingly beautiful at night. The weather was brisk. Everyone bundled up but still couldn't help holding each other's arms to keep themselves warm. Caitlin waved at Winnie and said to her, "Come on, let us walk together." "All right, Auntie." Winnie walked up to her and locked arms with her. Jeffrey was left walking in the snow alone, looking lonely and pitiful. Aaron sighed and said, "Holding someone can keep you warm, and it's romantic too. What do you think, Jeffrey? Do you agree with me?" The others almost burst into laughter. Jeffrey gave him a glance without expression, then silently made a snowball and threw it on Aaron's back. Aaron was irritated. He turned around and threw a snowball back at Jeffrey. The battle between the two of them affected quite a few of the others. Smiling, April walked to Winnie and said, "Oh, have you found that those two are becoming more and more alike?" Winnie nodded in agreement. Those two boys seemed to love and hate each other at the same time. It was 9 o'clock in the evening. Winnie got in her nanny van and headed back to the hotel. She still needed to rehearse for tomorrow. On her way, she received a message from Jeffrey. "Winnie, don't you feel awful? Was that any way to treat a person who has helped you?" Winnie felt that he was trying to start a fight. She had barely talked to him during the dinner, so she replied to his message even though she didn't want to. "It's your problem. You were mean to me every time you saw me. Tomorrow, after the contest, don't leave. Wait outside for me. Tonight, I'll probably stay up until 3 or 4 in the morning to prepare for tomorrow." Jeffrey furrowed his brows. He understood that she was currently swamped. It was not easy for her to make time to have dinner and take a stroll together with him and his family. At night, Jeffrey and Jack slept in the same bed. At first, Jack stayed on his side quietly, but soon enough, he slowly moved toward Jeffrey and even put a hand on his chest. Jeffrey wriggled on the bed. He felt extremely awkward. Jack murmured, "Baby, why is your chest so hard now?" Jeffrey opened his eyes speechlessly. "Damn, what's going on in this pure-looking scientist's head?" he said to himself. He pulled Jack's hand away from himself, then moved to the other side of the bed to avoid him. Jack moved closer to him, complaining, "Baby, why don't you lean on me tonight?" Jeffrey had goosebumps. Judging by the words that came out of Jack's mouth, he and Sylvia had slept together long ago. They had even gotten used to sleeping with each other. It was absurd for Aaron to keep such a strict watch over them. If only he knew the truth. Jeffrey had reached the limit of his endurance. He took his phone out from the nightstand drawer, then turned on the lamp, took a picture, and sent it to Winnie along with the message. "A guy's trying to flirt with me and touch me in the middle of the night. I'm almost falling off the bed. I can't sleep." The next morning, Winnie picked up her phone to find a few messages from Jeffrey. At midnight, he messaged, "I can't sleep." At 3 o'clock in the morning, he sent her another message. "I really, really can't sleep." At 4:30 in the morning, he messaged, "He's been trying to make out with me the whole night. How am I supposed to get through the next few nights?" At 5 o'clock in the morning, he messaged, "I think I'm becoming gay." Winnie found the messages mildly amusing, but refrained from responding. It didn't seem right. After a long while, she bit her lip and messaged back, "Come to my place tonight. You don't need to go back to yours if you don't want to." In the hotel, 9 o'clock in the morning. Jeffrey, who was brushing his teeth, spouted the water in his mouth when he read the message. Did Winnie mean that he could go to her room tonight and sleep with her? He couldn't resist that temptation so early in the morning. He washed his face with cold water and came out of the bathroom. On his way out, he saw Jack. He reached out his hand, rubbed the latter's chest, and said, "Your chest is not soft at all." After saying that, he went out for breakfast with a big smile plastered on his face. Jack shuddered, then hurriedly took out some sanitizer to disinfect himself. 8 o'clock in the evening. The shooting of the World King of Singing was about to start. Aaron and his family sat in the second row, which was about 8 meters from the stage. 10 minutes before the contest started, the audience behind them began to have intense discussions. "I heard someone will be eliminated today. I wonder who's going to leave this time." "I don't care as long as it's not Winnie." "You're right. She's the prettiest among all the contestants this season. If she leaves, the show won't be nearly as good." Hearing what those people said, April felt so happy to be a friend of Winnie. 10 minutes later, the contestants each gave an opening show in succession. Every singer was outstanding. April and her family lost themselves in their beautiful music and voices. Unlike them, Jeffrey was getting antsy. "When will Winnie come on stage?" "I don't know." April shook her head and said. They drew lots to determine the order. "We're not here just to listen to Winnie. All the singers are great. The live performances are just amazing." Jeffrey folded his arms. He had nothing to say. He had never been interested in music. If it weren't for Winnie, he wouldn't waste time sitting here feeling bored out of his mind. 9:30, Winnie finally came on stage as the final contestant. She was wearing a vivid red leather suit. Her lips were red, and her slim, sexy waist was exposed. She looked like an elf coming from a raging fire. The venue was overwhelmed by screams. Jeffrey was on fire, too. His heart just went crazy whenever he saw her. Winnie could be sexy occasionally. Of course, he had seen her both be hot and shy. But today, wearing that suit and heels, she looked like a queen. She gave such a wild performance on stage. She threw her head back, twisted her waist. Her long, slender legs dazzled him. Trouble started when a balding man sitting in front of Jeffrey dropped his phone. As the old dude bent over to pick it up, he sneaked a peek up Winnie's skirt. This little maneuver wasn't lost on Jeffrey, whose jaw was already ticking in anger. With his hair-trigger temper, he kicked the back of the man's chair. The man, who was bending over and sitting on one corner of the seat, tumbled off and landed on all fours. "Shh, shh, shh." The people sitting near him helped him up. They didn't want to attract any attention during the performance. But the bald man threw off the others, stood up, turned, and wagged his finger at Jeffrey angrily. Unbeknown to Jeffrey, not that he would have cared, the bald man was a famous music director. That boy just kicked his chair. How dare he? Meanwhile, Winnie was dancing on the stage. She couldn't help noticing the ruckus in front of her. The bald man happened to be Caleb Dale. Besides running his own music company, he was well known in the music business and was a part of the show's creative team. Winnie had talked to him a few times during the making of the show. He seemed a little lustful, so she had been keeping her distance. She had no idea what might have triggered this untimely dispute. Trying to stay on task, she raised her right hand and drew the eyes of her fans to the other side of the stage. Under the stage, Jeffrey raised his chin and looked at Caleb scornfully. If another singer were on stage and not Winnie, he would have slugged the guy. "Did you just kick me?" Caleb asked accusingly. His voice caught the attention of people nearby. Even April and Aaron heard him. Why was Jeffrey picking a fight with someone, and why now? There was no excuse for such rudeness. "Shut up! People are trying to watch the show," Jeffrey barked. His impudence almost made Caleb rush at him. Thankfully, the people nearby stopped him and said, "There's a huge audience here. Don't make a scene. The show is being filmed. We won't be able to refilm it. Wait until the show is over if there's anything to be solved. This is the last song anyway." Caleb popped his eyes and calmed himself down, but still he gave Jeffrey the finger and pointed it at the floor. Jeffrey was still fuming in anger. After Caleb sat back down, Aaron turned and asked Jeffrey, "What's going on? What did he do to you?" "He's too ugly and I want to beat him up," Jeffrey said expressionlessly. He didn't have the heart to tell the others about the nasty thing the guy did to Winnie. It would be too humiliating for her. Looking at the arrogant young man, Aaron shook his head in disbelief. "What the hell, man?" Recently, he found Jeffrey even more arrogant than himself as a young guy. "The people sitting in the front row are either the staff of the TV station or important guests. I don't think he's going to let you get away with this so easily," Aaron reminded Jeffrey. Cracking his knuckles nervously, Jeffrey quipped, "What a coincidence. I have some background in the entertainment circle, too. Later, if I don't kick his ass, I'll eat my hat." Aaron was too annoyed to spend any more time on this. April pulled his arm and whispered, "What's up with Jeffrey? What set him off?" "Stay away from him when the show ends. He might fight someone," Aaron said to her. April's breath was coming in gasps. The last thing she needed was for her brother to make a scene on Winnie's big night. She was there for one reason, to support Winnie, not to fight anyone. Why did her little brother hate Winnie so much? He even caused trouble during her performance. April felt a migraine coming on. As Winnie finished singing, the audience burst into thunderous applause. Winnie took a bow and thanked the audience. Before leaving the stage, she glanced at April and her family, beaming with joy. Next, the host came on stage to ask people to vote. About 10 minutes later, the results were in. A contestant from Hong Kong was eliminated. The group said their farewells backstage as they hugged it out before continuing with the elimination competition. Things were getting more heated with each passing week. When the show ended, the crowd was streaming out of the theater. Caleb, who was sitting in the front row, rolled up his sleeves. "You kicked me just now on purpose, didn't you, you little brat? Never seen anyone as cocky as you, acting as if the broadcasting station belongs to your family. I'll let things slide if you kneel and apologize to me. If not, I'll tear you down no matter who you are." "Ha! You don't know who I am even though you work in the industry? That's okay. I'll make you remember today." Jeffrey used his hands to jump to the front before grabbing the man's face and pushing him toward the stage. "Hey, what are you doing? Are you crazy?" Caleb's friends ran to his defense. Aaron stopped them just in time. "There must be a reason why my brother's beating up the guy. He's not psychotic." "Ah, Mr. Bennett!" The main director recognized him immediately and went to shake his hand. "I've heard about you for a while. This is Director Jeffrey, who just won the Golden Lion Awards." "Director Jeffrey? He only won an award with Director Woods when he took a trip to Venice with him." Aaron smiled slightly. The main director looked over at Caleb, who was crying for help, and he looked awkward. "Look, Mr. Bennett, Mr. Dell is also quite renowned in the music industry." "Don't worry, he won't go overboard," Aaron reassured him. April was quiet as she watched the two of them. She wondered when they had established such a good rapport with one another. After about 20 minutes, the group walked out of the television station. April turned to nag at Jeffrey, but he suddenly said, "I'm not going back with you guys. I'm meeting my friend tonight. I'll be spending the night there." Melissa narrowed her eyes. "Since when do you have friends here?" "I have plenty of friends. You wouldn't know their names even if I told you. I'll make a move first." Jeffrey waved goodbye and walked away. Aaron smirked. He wasn't planning on going home. Was the kid planning on staying the night? Winnie turned down the invitation to supper and took the nanny van back to the hotel right away. Bob started gossiping to her right away in the car. "Did you know that Jeffrey beat up Caleb after the show ended just now? He has bruises all over his face. Luckily, mobile phones are prohibited in the station. It would be a whole lot of trouble if any of the public caught wind of this." "What trouble? He isn't afraid of anything or anyone," Winnie sighed. "Besides, he has a film company supporting him and a bunch of people who have his back." "That's true," Bob smiled. "But it's quite cathartic, isn't it? Caleb has always used all sorts of excuses to take advantage of you. He's always putting his hands on you. He's a disgusting pervert." Winnie wondered if that was one of the reasons why Jeffrey beat him up. When she arrived at the hotel, he was waiting for her on the 22nd floor. Bob's eyes lit up immediately. "The two of you? We have something to discuss. You can go back and rest first." Winnie patted her on his shoulders. Bob covered his mouth with his hands as he laughed knowingly before leaving. Winnie walked over to Jeffrey. Her heart rate accelerated with every step that she took. Jeffrey was staring at her with sharp intent. He had an unbearably unsettling feeling and felt hot to the roots of his hair. He knew this feeling well. In the past, when she was working, he would wait for her outside the hotel, just like now. This happened back when romance was still sweet, or depending on the day of the week, a temporary madness. After all this time, he realized he hadn't moved on at all. He couldn't. It was impossible. He hated Winnie, but he loved her more than he hated her. He loved her so much that he couldn't stand anyone bullying or bothering her. Some might say he was obsessed with her. He wanted her undivided attention even if it meant the two of them quarreling and getting angry at each other. No matter what awaited them in the future, even if it was more pain, he was willing to take her back again. But things would be different. He would lock her down. "Why aren't you saying anything, and what are you thinking about?" Winnie walked to where he was standing, lost in thought. She was giving him that curious look. "Open the door." Jeffrey's eyes were dark and serious. Winnie was surprised. She opened the door and he walked in, into the room and into her life. Jeffrey shut the door behind him, his voice low and hoarse. "You said that in the morning I could come and find you, and I didn't have to go back. What does that mean?" Winnie felt overheated. She knew he was going to bring that up. Her mind went blank and she blurted out, "What I meant was, I can book a room for you next door." "I don't want that." Jeffrey took off his thick down coat and scarf and tossed them on the sofa. His eyes were still as dark as before, like a lone wolf. Winnie watched him move around like this. "Then I want to sleep on your bed." Jeffrey kicked his boots off. Winnie blinked. "Why? Are you embarrassed? It's not like we haven't slept together before." Jeffrey drew closer to her step by step and forced her to sit on the couch. His handsome face was pressing closer and closer to her as he looked at her from above. Winnie gulped and stared at his chest before saying, "Calm down." "How can I calm down?" Jeffrey replied in a low voice. "I've been surrounded by happy couples since yesterday. I was walking alone in the snow last night until my toes and fingers were frozen numb. Not you, though. You were walking alongside Auntie Caitlin. Did you ever wonder how I might have felt?" But if I held your hand, Auntie would have been left alone," Winnie stammered. "She's so old, she would have felt lonely or left out." "Well, okay, you do make some sense." Jeffrey nodded his head after thinking about it. "But can I interpret that to mean that you wouldn't have left me alone if Auntie hadn't been there?" He was so direct and suggestive. Winnie didn't like that. The two of them were flirting with each other. That much was obvious. They had gone through many things a couple would have gone through. Maybe it was time to mend fences and establish some boundaries between them, or figure out if they were still a couple. "Winnie, don't forget, we've already broken up," Jeffrey suddenly said. He was feeling complicated and confused. This time, he was the one reminding her. "Can I take that to mean that you want to get back together again?" Winnie looked at him. "Jeffrey, you sound as if I'm clamoring after you, like all this is wishful thinking on my part. Don't forget, if you didn't..." "If I didn't what?" Jeffrey drew even closer to her. Winnie opened her mouth. She was going to tell him everything tonight. "All right, let's go through the sequence of events one by one. Let's talk about Venice first. You extended your hand to help me with my lactation problem. Is that something people would normally do after breaking up? You kissed me again, under the bridge. You can call it accidental, but you were the one who kissed me first. Afterward, you had a meal with my brother and me. I fed you, and you fed me. We shared ice cream. We kissed. I just want to know how you feel about this." "How do I feel about this? Don't you know?" Jeffrey snickered and lowered his head further. At this point, Winnie was cornered like a little bird in a nest. Winnie frowned in frustration. Sometimes she knew, but what happened between him and Ella always clouded her judgment. "Jeffrey, I don't know. You always tell me I have poor taste. My family tells me the same thing. They say I focus on superficial appearances too much and don't focus enough on the person inside. I'm lost and confused. I'm scared." "At least you know yourself," Jeffrey said through gritted teeth. For a long time, he hated her taste in men. He couldn't help but add viciously, "Winnie, I don't know what you've done to me. I can't get you out of my system. It's impossible to move on even after all this time." Winnie already had an inkling of his feelings before now, but it was different hearing it from him. She was happy, a little bitter as well, and very confused. "So what's going on between you and Ella? Can you tell me?" Jeffrey stood up abruptly. "Winnie, you have no right to ask about Ella and me. Don't forget about the time you spent the night with Ben." Winnie frowned, disappointed again. "So you still don't believe me that day?" "How can I believe you?" Jeffrey inhaled sharply as he tried to calm himself down. "I'm standing here not because I believe you, but because I care about you so much. I'm forcing myself not to think about it. But Winnie, if you dare make me a cuckold again, I will lock you up." His sharp words left no room for rebuttal. Wow, he doesn't seem to be joking with that expression on his face. "What's the point of all this if you never believed me in the first place? We'll live in the shadows of our doubts forever." "So you've decided to be with Ben in the end?" Jeffrey narrowed his eyes anxiously. "Jeffrey, I never thought about getting together with Ben. I've been out of love with him for a long time now. I love you. Winnie bit her lip. Those things I asked you just now, if I didn't like you, why would I have let you touch me again in Venice? I wouldn't have gone out with you. I just hope we can be frank with each other today. I'm drained. I've only slept for 4 hours for a few days now. Every time I open my eyes, I have to prepare for the upcoming competition. I heard that someone good is joining the show next week. If I don't work hard, I'll be eliminated. This will probably be the last one until the end of the year. I hope you can calm down in the meantime and tell me about Ella. I've said this before, but I have something important to tell you too. If you're not busy over the new year, stay with me. She blurted this as if it was a confession, and she had asked him to spend the new year with her. Jeffrey wasn't expecting this. His pupils constricted and he asked for clarification. What do you mean? Are you planning to bring me to your parents? She did have plans. She wanted him to meet Jenny as well. Why did she feel that he meant something else when he said that? Are you planning to drive your parents to their graves? Jeffrey frowned. You went home last year pregnant and you're going to bring a man home this year? Who said anything about meeting my parents? Winnie was annoyed now. I just asked you to accompany me. Jeffrey was upset again. What do you mean? Are you not going to bring me to meet your parents for the new year? Is this the love you're talking about? Are you serious about being together with me, or are you just fooling around again? She regretted asking him to accompany her for the new year. Well, I think you should go back to your parents' place over the new year. She was sick of this fussy man. Jeffrey looked upset. So you keep on going back and forth like this. I don't think you're sincere at all. I'm going to go take a shower. Winnie rubbed her eyes tiredly. She was determined to get a good night's rest that day. Same here. I'm going to take a shower too. Shall we? Jeffrey started undressing. Winnie was surprised. He was a lot more forward than before. Well, you can go ahead first. You're asking me to go first now that I've already undressed? Jeffrey raised his brows. Winnie was about to roll her eyes. Yes, I'm asking you to go first precisely because you've already taken off your shirt. You'll finish faster. You should go first. True, but I don't feel right as a guest of yours. Jeffrey looked a little sly. You're the host, after all. Anyway, I think it would be best if we went together. He immediately lifted her and put her on his shoulder. He had been too nice to Winnie in the past. If he wasn't shameless enough, he would be giving some other man the chance to be shameless. Jeffrey, are you insane? Put me down! Winnie was slapping his back. He would never have done something like this in the past. She was furious. Was he treating her like cargo? Be good. We'll be there soon. Jeffrey kicked the door to the bathroom open. I don't want to shower with you. I haven't grabbed my clothes yet. I don't want... Winnie was struggling and she grabbed the edge of the door desperately. Eventually, he still managed to pull her into the bathroom with him. When the door slammed shut, there were sounds of resistance from inside, but it gradually turned into a warm buzz of moans and groans. After about 10 minutes, Jeffrey carried Winnie out of the washroom. Her whole body was red like a cooked lobster. A towel covered her private parts, and the rest of her skin was speckled with love bites resembling flower petals. Her face looked radiant and seductive. Jeffrey placed her on the bed. He was obviously in high spirits after the whole ordeal. Lie here. I'll go and get your little panties. Winnie was about to break down. She must have been crazy to ask him to stay the night yesterday. He had just entered the room, and he had already taken advantage of her. Although he didn't penetrate her in the end, her thighs were burning from all the friction. Jeffrey grabbed fresh clothing from the balcony, sounding chirpy. It had been a while since he seemed this way. I only just realized you've sized up. Winnie glared at him from under the sheets with her face red. Give them to me quick. Be good. I'll put them on for you. Jeffrey scurried under the sheets as well, and after wrestling for a bit under there, Winnie quickly sat up. She was worried they were playing with fire again and it would lead to something more. I'm not going to play this game with you. I'm exhausted. She sounded exhausted. You didn't sleep well last night either, did you? No, I didn't. Jeffrey hugged her and lay down, wrapping his arms around her tightly and enjoying her softness. He was mesmerized by her scent. Last night, I was in the arms of another man. It was disgusting. Winnie burst into giggles. I couldn't tell. Professor Kipling looked so innocent and down to earth. A wolf. Jeffrey grunted coldly. He won't be in his room tonight since I'm not around. He's probably off somewhere fooling around with Sylvia. Don't put it that way. That sounds awful. They're in a proper relationship. Winnie stared hard at him. Her face was blush pink, and she looked as if she was flirting with him. She looked extremely seductive. True. Jeffrey couldn't help but cup her cheeks tightly and kiss her. Touch my chest, will you? I was taken advantage of last night. Some heavy trauma and PTSD are going on. Winnie giggled a little and stroked his chest casually. Before long, she had already closed her eyes and fallen asleep. Jeffrey looked at her face as she slept. He wondered what she was thinking about. Her lips were curled upward, and she had a sweet smile on her face. He was feeling so much in one go. After tonight, he was sure he was falling in love with her all over again. But was he ready to accept her child? Oy, forget about it. All he could do was ignore these things. She told him she loved him. If it was true, was it possible that she had gotten pregnant before the two of them got into a relationship? So she never betrayed him, and her feelings for him were real as well. Winnie, am I right? He lowered his head and kissed her forehead. Winnie groaned a little and scooted even closer to him like a kitten. Sadly, Jeffrey found himself losing sleep again. He had insomnia when he slept with a man the previous night. Now he had insomnia sleeping with a woman. Winnie, on the other hand, was sleeping soundly and peacefully. The next day, he woke up first before Winnie did. At around 9 o'clock, Bob came knocking on their door. He gave him a knowing smile and said, I knew you would be staying the night. I didn't want to intrude or interrupt anything, but she has to go to the music studio with the rest of the team at 10. Jeffrey frowned. I thought the competition just happened yesterday. Can't she get 1 day of rest? Bob sighed. The amount of hard work and results you get is proportionate to every singer out there in the competition, especially now that the finals are drawing closer. Things are going to get even more competitive and even more heated from now on. It's difficult to choose a song as well. We have to arrange the score and get the choreography down as well. Everything is on a tight schedule. Besides, she has other commitments like your Christmas movie premiere. All right, I know. I'll go wake her. Jeffrey closed the door and turned to look at Winnie, who was still sleeping. His heart ached. She was always a light sleeper. He knew how tired she must have been for her to stay asleep even after all this ruckus. He frowned and stared at her for a while before he kissed her awake. When Winnie opened her eyes, she saw his black eyelashes first and smiled groggily. She wrapped her arms around his neck and said, Jeffrey, am I dreaming of you again? It was as if someone had just passed electricity through his brain. Jeffrey's heart was tight and he felt breathless. He finally opened his mouth in disbelief when he saw how groggy she looked. Do you always dream of me? Yeah. She rubbed her eyes, and after a while it seemed as though she finally woke up. I'm not dreaming right now? She asked. No, you're not. Jeffrey's voice was shaking. Winnie, were you pretending to still be asleep when you said that just now? You were just bluffing me, right? Yeah, I was just groggy. Got you. Winnie would never admit she couldn't tell apart reality from her dreams. It was so embarrassing. It would be admitting that she dreamed of him all the time. Winnie climbed out of bed and tried to run to the bathroom. Jeffrey grabbed her from behind and he looked determined. You're not bluffing me. You do dream of me often. What do you dream about? Winnie's back was pressed against his naked chest. Her pretty brows were knitted tightly together. I dream of your nasty, foul mouth, all the nasty things that you would say. It's extremely unpleasant. Jeffrey looked down at her in disappointment, but he realized something was amiss. No, you had your arms around me just now. Winnie didn't say anything, but she was blushing now. Jeffrey laughed when he saw the look on her face. He turned around and kissed her domineeringly. You miss me. Winnie didn't answer. He was often in her dreams. Did she miss him then? Yeah, it was sweet and romantic every time she did meet him in her dreams. But when she woke up, she hated him whenever she thought of him. She bit him in frustration, and Jeffrey winced in pain. Ouch! Why did you bite me? I just wanted to, can't I? Winnie's cheeks were puffed up. Jeffrey looked at her thoughtfully for a few seconds before he kissed her and pushed her onto the bed. Kissing someone was highly addictive, especially once you let yourself go the first time. It would leave you wanting more. He wanted to have her right there and then, but they didn't have enough time. Winnie, you're mine. Do you know that? You are mine. No other man's allowed to touch you, Jeffrey said in an overbearing manner after he kissed her. If you were mine, I wouldn't let you touch any other woman, Winnie responded softly. Depends on your performance, Jeffrey said purposely. Winnie pushed him aside with force. I'm going to the studio. Jeffrey lay on the bed and watched her get up from behind. He was grinning now. The phone rang. It was April. Are you coming back soon? We're leaving in a few minutes. Not yet. April was annoyed. I thought I texted you yesterday. I didn't see it, said Jeffrey, rubbing his ears. You guys go ahead. I'll come by around lunchtime. There's nothing much to see anyway. Are you hoping to see the White Maiden? Isn't it one of the major sightseeing spots here? April was quiet. Come back soon. We're going to a different destination at 1 in the afternoon. We have to get there before evening. We're going somewhere else. Jeffrey was frowning deeply now. Did that mean he wouldn't be able to spend the night here again that night? I thought I told you on the way here. April sounded frustrated on the phone. If he weren't her biological brother, she would tell him off right away. Weren't you listening to us at all? What have you been thinking about? I was thinking about the script. Jeffrey sounded a little sheepish when he answered her. Can I skip this trip? No. April rejected him instantly. Have you forgotten what we said last night? It's so rare for the whole family to come out here. No one is allowed to skip. I don't care what big thing you have going on. Just look at how happy Dad is. All right, I know, Jeffrey said helplessly. Winnie overheard the conversation in the bathroom. When she was done washing, she came back. Go back quickly. Think about how you're going to come clean about Ella as well. I have something to tell you as well. I think if we want to take things further, we have to be honest with one another. Jeffrey grabbed her in frustration. The last thing he wanted to do was talk about Ella, that bitch. Go be with your family, Winnie sighed. After patching things up with my family, I realized how important family is. You should spend more time with them if you can. Well, if the bald guy has any designs on you, just give me a call right away, Jeffrey said coldly suddenly. I promise to throw him into the lake in the middle of the winter. Winnie was surprised. How did you know? When you were dancing last night, that sick bastard tried to bend down to get a better look. I kicked him and sent him flying, Jeffrey growled. Don't dress so sexily next time. Wear skirts below the knee. Although he was as bossy as ever, her heart was swelling with happiness when he was looking out for her and loved her. He even got into a fight with someone because of her. She didn't know if he was being too rash or just cared about her too much. I was dressed that way for the concept of the song, Winnie was smiling now. Besides, you came to watch me yesterday. Weren't you happy with the way I looked? Jeffrey was silent for a moment. Did you have me in mind when you picked out that hot outfit? Half-half, I guess. Winnie turned when she said that. She was playing it cool now. Jeffrey quickly scooped her up from the ground and buried his face in the nape of her neck. Dance for me when we're alone next time. Winnie was blushing as she wrapped her arms tightly around him. It's getting late. Please put me down. I have to get ready. Jeffrey looked at his watch. It was already 9:20. Time always passed so quickly when they were together. He dressed quickly while Winnie put on a simple down jacket. Her face was clean and bright. I'll make a move first, then you leave and close the door later. All right, did Joshua say anything to you? At the mere mention of that kid, Jeffrey felt a headache coming on. Why is your little brother sending me links and articles on how to get along with children and how to raise a child? Beats me. He must have gotten access to those links from our mother, who's always reading articles on parenting. She couldn't help but giggle. I think you should be more open-minded and take a look at those articles when you get a chance. I mean, why not? Winnie said earnestly. It might come in handy in the future. Jeffrey looked at her with complicated feelings. Are you asking me to build a relationship with your daughter or Joshua? You must trust that little Joshua has your best interest at heart. You'll come to understand that soon enough. He must be updated on his social media platform quite often. Winnie was a little nervous at the mention of this. Joshua posted photos of Jenny very frequently online. The awkward part was that Jenny didn't look like Winnie at all. She looked like someone else entirely. "Oh, I blocked him on the social media platform," Jeffrey replied. Winnie was quiet. He would regret that sooner or later. Jeffrey cleared his throat. He was looking at Winnie. "Are you upset with me?" "Nope, I'm leaving." Winnie turned to leave, but Jeffrey had already pulled her in front of him and kissed her sensually. "Winnie, I blocked Joshua not because I don't like him. I'm just not ready yet," Jeffrey said slowly. "I understand. No need to pressurize yourself. The most important thing now would to be think about how you're going to explain yourself to me. The thing with Ella, that's what I'm talking about. I'll give you time," Winnie whispered to him, her lips brushing against his. She gave him another light peck on the cheek before leaving. Jeffrey leaned against the wall. He was in a bind. What was he supposed to say? Although he had slept with another woman when he was drunk that day, he did have a good time that night. It was intoxicating. At 11:20, Jeffrey met up with April and the rest of the gang at the restaurant. When he arrived, Melissa gave him a suspicious smile and said, "Ah, you're back. Finally. I'm curious. Which friend of yours is so dear to you that you would abandon your old mother, father, and sister? Why didn't you bring them along for the meal?" "My friend is busy," Jeffrey grinned and said happily. He was in high spirits for a change. "How about this? I'll pay for the next couple meals to express my sincerest apologies. It's the least I can do." Melissa studied his pleased expression. He was up to something. But what? Was Winnie interested in this little rascal of hers? If so, she would be inviting trouble. Or was he just being willful by insisting on staying over at her place on his own? Sylvia gave Jeffrey an oblique look. "Why do I get the feeling that you're very pleased with yourself? Did you secretly run off to meet your girlfriend yesterday?" "You're reading too much into this. I was just out with some directors to talk about the film," Jeffrey answered casually as he redirected his attention to his food. When they finished eating, the group left the restaurant. Aaron stayed in the back of the group and patted Jeffrey's shoulders. "Not bad," he said sarcastically. "You managed to spend the night so quickly. Have you lost your virginity yet?" Suppressing a smirk, Jeffrey looked at him with a poker face and said, "Are you joking? I lost it a long time ago. Don't compare me with yourself." He continued striding confidently ahead without looking back. Aaron watched him walk away. Young people nowadays, so arrogant. At 4:00 in the afternoon, they all arrived at a small town in a different location. Aaron went to the counter to check in while Sylvia and Jack chatted. Jeffrey walked over to them. "You can go to Sylvia's room tonight. I won't tell." Jack was blushing. "You..." "All right, don't think I didn't know you two have been sleeping together for a long time," Jeffrey interrupted. "I don't want you to hug me and grope my chest in the middle of the night." Jack widened his eyes in disbelief as if he had just been wrongly accused. His breathing quickened and Sylvia looked stunned too. "He grabbed your chest?" "Baby, don't listen to him." Jack shook his head vigorously. "I didn't touch him." Jeffrey smirked. "You know best what you were dreaming about. I'm a guy. Of course my chest isn't soft." He walked off, leaving an embarrassed Professor Kipling who just wanted to crawl into a hole. "You idiot." Sylvia was smiling as she pinched his arm. "Are you embarrassed?" "Baby." Jack's face was beet red. "Why did I become like this?" "Don't worry. You're going from a little rabbit into a big bad wolf after being with me." Sylvia was grinning cheekily as she teased him. Jack was frustrated. He whispered, "Baby, I don't think we should keep doing this. I feel so guilty and sinful. Let's get married this year. Will you marry me?" Sylvia was shocked. She looked around her and asked, "Are you proposing to me in this hotel lobby?" Jack stood still for a moment before grabbing his hair. "I'm not proposing. I'm just asking for your opinion. I'll propose again if it's all right with you. If you're not comfortable with it, it would be pointless if I proposed to you." Sylvia smiled. "You have such a way with words, asking me to marry you even though we have nothing now. Oh, it's okay if we don't have children. That's okay." Jack frowned slightly. "I'm just concerned. I heard that Winnie's younger than you. Even if she gets married before us, how late would we be at the party? Will we break up in the future? Baby, I'm scared. I want to marry you soon. Sylvia was startled, but had to admit he was right. By right, if she continued seeing Jack like this, they should be able to get married by the next year. Unless Winnie was going to catch up with her with rocket-like speed or something happened between her and Jack. She shook her head. She didn't want to think about it. Don't think about these things. We won't break up. Come on, let's go get our room cards. She squeezed his hand tenderly. At 7 o'clock in the evening, Winnie got a call from Maddie after dinner.
Winnie, have you eaten yet?
Maddie asked breezily, as if everything between them was hunky-dory. I just ate. Is anything wrong, sir? Winnie asked innocently.
I just want to apologize.
He sounded very sincere over the phone. After that interview last time, I didn't expect the reporters to take my words out of context like that. I have no ill intentions or hard feelings against you.
Winnie, I know you well. The media's just getting a little bored, and they're using you to increase their viewership.
Winnie laughed warily, but she didn't say anything. Maddie continued.
There are a lot of international stars in the production crew who stepped up to testify for you. I didn't expect your connections to be so wide. There are a lot of netizens online, leaving me to hate messages. Winnie, would you do me a favor and clarify things online for me? I know it's a lot to ask, but I'm left with no choice. Look, we did work together once. We will have to see each other when we promote the film together.
Mr. Maddie, Winnie interrupted. I'm still calling your name out of politeness. You're saying that you were a victim in this whole episode as well and that someone was using you. But I distinctly remember that you didn't come out to clarify anything the first day when the photos were released. You were silent when the netizens were hating on me. On the second day, when you did that interview, you left me in a lurch. Even when I was nearly kicked out of the entertainment industry, you refused to vouch for me. You're only apologizing to me now after people came out to support me. I have to be honest, you're coming across as a hypocrite.
I was overseas. I wasn't following the news.
Enough, Winnie said abruptly. I knew you were upset with me. You were unfriendly and rude. We both know that. There's no reason to put on an act. Maddie was angry now.
Winnie, don't think you're all that big just because you went to Venice and participated in World's Top Singer. Are you disregarding me now? Back when you first started, you called me senior and were so respectful to me. Fine, if you want to make things ugly, I can tell you that I'm not going to credit your authorship for the song Fearless that we collaborated on.
Winnie tightened her grip on the phone. What do you mean? Maddie snickered.
I wrote the lyrics for Fearless, and I arranged the music score. You have no rights over the single other than the fact that you sang along with me. From now on, you only have the performance rights to this song. You won't be getting a cent from the earnings.
That chance! Winnie, who was well-tempered by nature, was furious now. Shameless, that's right. You wrote the lyrics and the score, but I made 60% of the changes later on.
How come I don't know about that?
Maddie sneered.
Do you have any proof of your claims?
Winnie was quiet a moment. She had made the changes in his hard copy manuscript then, but she didn't keep a copy of that manuscript. We signed a contract. If you're going to do this, I'll have no choice but to press charges.
Bring it on.
After she hung up, Winnie called Tara.
Maddie is despicable, but I understand. You're so popular now, and when the movie screens, the theme track will be hitting the charts, no doubt. If he claims to master the track, he will be reaping all the earnings too. At his age and without any reputation left, he's trying to secure the money part of the show business.
So he's going to fight tooth and nail on this. Winnie was fuming. I spent a lot of time on Fearless, so there's no way I'm going to let him own the masters of the song. He says he's only going to give me the rights to perform the song, but he gets to keep the earnings from all my performances? That's ludicrous! Tara sighed.
If only we had the manuscript. Why did you hand it over to him?
I'll go look through the contract and see if we can settle this out of court. If not, we'll have to follow protocol with our legal team. Okay, said Winnie, nodding. Her head was spinning. She never saw this coming. Over the next few days, Tara tried to mediate things with Maddie's managing company, but they proposed an earning ratio of 2 to 7. Winnie would only be keeping 20% of the profits. Tara was outraged and she posted the lawyer's letter online. Once again, Winnie was in the headlines. When Jeffrey heard the news in school, he called Winnie immediately. "Do you want me to settle this for you? Maddie is asking for a beating." If he had known this during the auditions, he wouldn't have suggested that he sing the theme song with Winnie. "How are you going to settle this? By kicking him out of the entertainment industry?" Winnie was frustrated. "He's not going to budge. We've already received some pretty good offers from streaming networks from streaming rights to the song. He is dying to grab hold of the masters of this track. I'll be meeting Kiera in a couple days to discuss the case. I'll get back to you." "Kiera?" Jeffrey raised his brow. "Yeah, I signed a contract with the company. She'll be in charge of all my cases from now on," Winnie laughed and said. "She settled the copyright case for me last time, too." Jeffrey got annoyed at the mention of Kiera's name, but he trusted her professional abilities, no doubt. He had heard from Aaron that he had signed a long-term walking contract with Kiera's law firm and that Kiera was getting better at her craft. She wasn't considered a top lawyer yet because of her young age, but her reputation and track record rivaled that of a top lawyer. On Saturday, Kiera flew over to meet with Winnie. They discussed the case. When she met Kiera again, Winnie found that she was even sharper and more fashionable than before. Her black hair was tied up in an updo, and she carried a sleek leather case. She looked sexy and intimidating at the same time, especially her gaze. It seemed as though there was nothing that she could hide from this formidable woman in front of her. Winnie thought that maybe all top lawyers looked like this. When they talked about the loopholes in the contract, Kiera was quick and precise to point out the main points. Winnie thought about Ella again. The two sisters were so different from one another, day and night. Sigh. "Miss Winnie, why are you sighing?" Kiera stopped talking about the contract. She just paused and smiled reassuringly. "I just thought of Ella," Winnie stammered. Kiera sighed upon hearing her sister's name. "Why? Do you think that we're completely different from one another?" "You have different personalities," Winnie said, smiling. "My parents spoiled Ella rotten. They're too easy on her." Kiera sighed. "I haven't seen her in a long time. Last year, she ran away out of fear from Jeffrey." "What?" Winnie was confused. "Wait a minute." Kiera explained. "The school expelled her, didn't they? My parents brought her to Jeffrey's place and he threw her into the little pond in the winter. She had to be hospitalized for several days. I told her to enroll in a professional course, but she wouldn't listen and just ran away. I haven't heard from her since." Winnie was horrified. No! This couldn't be true. Or could it?
Kiera sighed helplessly.
"Oh, my head hurts just thinking about Ella.
You don't know. My parents made me go beg Mr. Bennett last year."
"How could I do that?"
"Mr. Bennett told me straight away that my sister took the opportunity, when Jeffrey was intoxicated with alcohol, to...
What did you say?"
Winnie widened her eyes in disbelief. Kiera was embarrassed and awkward. "Well, you should know about the two of them. If not, you wouldn't have broken up. I heard my sister sent those photos to you." I know about it. Yes." Winnie nodded her head. "I didn't know that Ella did that to Jeffrey when he was drunk." "What a coincidence. She was drunk too when she slept with Jeffrey. Was it the same for Ella?" "Sounds fishy. How could the same thing happen twice?" Winnie thought about it and she asked with suspicion, "When did they sleep together?" "I'm not sure about that." Thinking about Jeffrey's character, Kiera was worried that she might say something wrong and she quickly added, "Actually, I can tell that Jeffrey likes you. He looked down and out when I bumped into him last year with the Bennett family. Between Ella and him, I don't think he ever liked her at all. Ella was terrified at the mention of him as well. She might have done other things as well." Winnie was deep in her thoughts. She knew that Jeffrey didn't like Ella back then as well. Ella was the one who was always pestering her. When she found out that Jeffrey had slept with Ella back then, she assumed that Jeffrey was just pretending to be an earnest, nice guy. In reality, he just enjoyed physical intimacy and sleeping with many other women.
There are a lot of men like this. After all, people who separate sex and love. But she seemed to have caught on to something now, according to what Kira had just told her. Something seemed a little off. Kira, you have no idea where Ella is now? Yeah, Kira grimaced. I hope she's having it a little rough out there, though, so that she can have a chance to turn over a new leaf and reflect on what she's done. That kid hasn't had it tough before. I'm just worried that her personality will get more and more twisted, and she will commit worse mistakes. She's a grown-up now. She had to face the consequences of her own choices. Winnie could sympathize with the sentiments of an older sister with a disobedient younger sibling. Seems like we've gotten off track, Kira smiled as she flipped through the documents. We forgot the order of matter here. The odds are not in our favor if we only have these documents on hand. The best way would be to prove your abilities in court in comparison to Maddie. That way, we can show that he would never be able to write a song like that without your input. Winnie's eyes lit up. That's an angle we could work. Kira nodded her head. I hope the panel of jury won't include Brandon. He's notoriously famous for being inflexible. Winnie was curious. Our law firm always loses when we bump into him, Kira grimaced as she stood up. It's getting late. I have another meeting with the client. I won't take up any more of your time then. Thank you very much. Winnie shook her hands and made sure to see her out. The more she thought about the conversation with Kira, the weirder she felt. She decided to call Jeffrey. I just met with Kira. She told me about what happened with Ella. Jeffrey was frozen. His lively spirit was doused with ice water at the mention of that person. He wondered what Kira had told her. Although he was going to come clean with her, he wasn't quite ready to talk about it yet. I thought we were going to talk about this after your competition. Jeffrey stuttered sheepishly. Yeah, but since it came up in conversation today, I just want to know something, Winnie said with a low voice. You haven't thought about what to say, have you? Or were you just lying to me when you told me that you were drunk? Of course not, Jeffrey replied. I had too much to drink that day when I woke up. She was just lying there next to me. Winnie's heart sank. Was he that unlucky to have that happen to him twice? If it was true, he might be too easy. Although she did it once also, she was still sour about it. Can you tell me then, when did it happen? Why do you want to know the details? Jeffrey was frustrated. Anyway, it didn't happen when we were together. If you have to ask me for an exact date, I think it was not long after my sister got married. You were around that night as well. I was there too? When he felt as if she was struck by lightning. Although the two of them were from the same school, they rarely saw each other outside. Not to mention drinks. Except for that night they spent together. That night, when we were celebrating the student council head's birthday, Austin dragged me there, Jeffrey said. I had drunk too much and was totally wasted. When I woke up, I was in the room above the club and Ella was next to me. Total silence. Jeffrey could hear his heart pound. Winnie, are you bothered by that? I have to tell you, you don't have a right to be. You even had a child with Ben. Winnie ignored this nonsense. Her brain was buzzing and she could hear a ringing sound in her ears. Her thoughts were running wild and her head hurt. She was silly. She was the one who slept with him that night. She left the first thing in the morning. Why was Ella the one lying next to him when he woke up? How did Ella get in there? She remembered shutting the door when she left. Did she leave the door ajar? Or did Ella sneak in? When she went into the room, did she just lie there? Or did she do it with Jeffrey? She had been very jealous at first, but now she just felt kind of bad for Jeffrey. Winnie, say something. What do you mean by your silence? Jeffrey was getting more anxious and angry. No, I'm just thinking about something, Winnie rubbed her head. Can you tell me more about that night? Did you do it with Ella when you woke up in the morning? I don't want to talk about that night anymore. Jeffrey didn't want to say that he enjoyed himself that night. Of course I didn't do anything with Ella in the morning. I nearly went crazy when I woke up. If not for my strong emotions, I might have ended up in the hospital from shock. But I always felt as if it wasn't her that night. It wasn't her I slept with. But she kept insisting that it was her first time that night, and she would cry and cry. I felt bad whenever she sobbed. And although I hated her, I still felt as if I had to take some responsibility. After a while, I realized that our personalities were drastically incompatible, and she was a pathological liar. She always had to take things to the extreme. "Oh my God," Winnie was muttering. "Right, oh my God," Jeffrey sighed. "Ugh, I don't know what rotten luck I had to meet someone like Ella." "Yeah." By now, Winnie pieced together most of what had happened that night. She wondered if Jeffrey would want to murder her if he found out the truth about that night. She didn't know all these things happened after she ran away that day. Where did Ella get the nerve to do something like that? It was despicable. What's more, she couldn't believe that Ella had been playing her and Jeffrey like puppets in her palm all this time. Jeffrey? There's something I never told you." Winnie felt nervous when she opened her mouth and could hardly get the words out. "What is it?" Jeffrey's voice was cold. "Don't tell me you want to break up again and go back to that prick." Winnie was shuddering from his cold voice. "No, that's not it. You have to promise me something before I tell you. You can't get mad if I tell you the truth." Jeffrey had a sick feeling in his stomach. "Don't tell me that you're pregnant again." "No, can you stop postulating and assuming that I cheated on you?" Winnie said. "Because you did it before," Jeffrey said viciously. "No, I didn't." "Then where did the child come from? Did she jump up from the cracks of the earth?" Jeffrey's temples were throbbing now at the mention of the child again. "I want to tell you about the child's father." "I don't want to know. I don't want to know." Jeffrey hung up. Winnie was flabbergasted and immediately called him back. When he answered, she said, "Wait for me to finish before hanging up, can you please? The child is yours." This time, it was her turn to have a bad feeling in her stomach. "Winnie, this is the most ridiculous joke you've ever told." Jeffrey felt like vomiting for a split second before he started laughing hysterically. "How could I impregnate you just from all that grinding at your door? I don't think my sperm is that strong." Winnie's face was hot. That night, it wasn't Ella. It was me." Jeffrey was silent for a while before he spoke again. "Winnie, don't mess with my head. There's no time for games. Do you have to go this far and tell lies to get me to accept your child?" If it was her that night, he might just strangle her to death. "I'm not lying to you." Winnie was feeling lightheaded. "It was me. I had a little too much to drink that night, and I was lying in bed with you when I woke up. I was terrified, so I just packed up and left. Accurately, I ran. I just don't know how Ella ended up in bed with you. I asked for the details just now because I still can't figure it out. I wanted to be sure." "Impossible!" Jeffrey interrupted her with a nasty tone. "How could anything like this happen?" "It was the biggest joke in the world." "I didn't expect this, okay?" Winnie was muttering under her breath now. "We didn't see eye to eye then. And you were so mean to me. I thought you would strangle me to death that morning when you woke up. That's why I ran. I remember I bumped into you near the bathroom. I pounced on you and kissed you. Do you remember how guilty and sheepish I looked when we bumped into one another the next day?" "Winnie?" Jeffrey's throat hurt from all the shouting. He had never mentioned any of this before for her to know the details, so it must have been her that night. He had considered the fact that it wasn't Ella he had slept with, but another female classmate from that party. He just never expected it to be Winnie. "Winnie, how could you do such a thing?" Jeffrey wanted to skin her alive. "You don't have the guts to admit it after pouncing on me like that. That's highly irresponsible of you. You're a coward." Winnie put her phone a distance away from her ear. Really? He had it really good as well. How could he say those things about her as if she was an ungrateful douchebag? Please, it was her first time too.